little bit more intensity about him. He was always one that was very, very laid back, and he's now just a lot more into the bridle, but it's controlled. We'll see what magic Kendrick Carmouche can work from the outside post, Greg.
All right, Maggie, thank you. Take a look there at the 7, and there is Kendrick for Michelle Giangulio. Speed outside and comes in sharp form for this level.
Broke from the rail in the last couple of starts for this horse, was beaten as the favorite in that most recent effort, but he's best when he can set the pace. You do have the presence of Naked and Famous. I thought, Andy, that Nolo Contesto for David Jacobson could potentially get the right kind of trip from the inside, Javier Castellano taking them out, and I thought he could build off of that last race where he was wide.
Well, he wasn't. He actually spent a lot of the race in the rail, and the rail was bad that day.
Fair.
But they're in the gate. I agree with you, though. I like them.
And they're off. From the outside, it is Win for Gold out for the early lead. Always Charming. And right alongside is Naked and Famous. Those two together, second and third. Nolo Contesto is down at the rail. And alongside is Jester's Song. Up the backstretch. Win for Gold leads here by a length. Naked and Famous down on the inside in second, with Always Charming alongside. The quarter win in 22 and 4/5 seconds. So it is Win for Gold leading now by almost 2 lengths. Naked and Famous covered up down on the inside with Always Charming. And then we come back to the back of the pack with Jester's Song and Nolo Contesto. It is still Win for Gold who leads here by a length. Always Charming on the outside, half mile 45 and 4/5 seconds. Naked and Famous has dropped back, then Nolo Contesto and Jester's Song. They come into the stretch. It's Win for Gold and Always Charming on the outside. Win for Gold and Always Charming, and now they're right together. Nolo Contesto is in third. They're heading for the 16th pole. Always Charming on the outside now grabs the lead. Win for Gold is back running in second. And Nolo Contesto is third. It's Always Charming and Arad Ortiz Jr. 3 in a row on the Friday card.
Somebody's heating up. Arad Ortiz Jr. on a roll, or as Charming rolls on by Win for Gold, who tried to do a gate to wire.
Yeah, big performance. Arad Ortiz sweeping the card so far, winning 3 in a row. I thought this horse was a little tricky to take, stepping up in company off a win on the wet track last time out.
If Arad Ortiz wins a 5-horse field and is 8-1, you can only imagine what price the horse probably should have been. He's just a completely different horse. He wired a field in the slop that was extremely weak last time. This time he chased a horse who's been in very good form and put him away and drew off to victory. Congratulations if you had him. You are definitely smarter than I am.
Biggest price on the board. Yeah, that Arad Ortiz Jr. money not really coming in here, although maybe it did a little. This horse maybe should have been even a bigger price. 6-7-1-5 upset here to kick off a middle pick 4. And just no response from Win for Gold, who got to the front, out quick the 4 early on. Weakened in the lane.
No excuse whatsoever for Win for Gold. Jester's Song never ran, and nobody really picked up the pieces. Our horse, Nolo Contesto, he just ran along for third.
Quick start to this card with that third underwear feature. As we briefly told you about top of the show, Gold Fever, that is in race 8 later today. 3-year-olds sprinting 6 furlongs, and some interesting runners in here. We had a late scratch with Prove Right, who comes out of the race for Jimmy Chapman. 7-5 morning line favorite, Squire Creek. Chapman still does have Drew's Gold to the outside, who is undefeated. We're going to start, though, with Squire Creek for Brad Cox, who's 2 for 2 with wins at Fairgrounds and Keeneland.
And this horse has won impressively in the last couple of races. It looked like last time at Keeneland, Florent Giroux was kind of asking him along a little bit to kind of keep up. And then when he came under attack, you see the horse in the red cap on the outside. That one was kind of lugging in, hanging on the left lead, being a little bit green. And that allowed Squires Creek, who was being very professional in his second start, to keep a straight course and kick on away from this field. He's run some nice Beyer speed figures in his 2. Obviously, he will be tested today as he will try to keep that good momentum going. But he's done it at 2 different racetracks.
And the scratcher Prove Right is a benefit to him, because he was the one horse I thought that might be able to put pressure on him, and that's a might, because he's very quick. Without Prove Right, he's supposed to be able to control.
Meanwhile, Drew's Gold, Joey Freshwater getting reunited. Drew's Gold 3 for 3 Acacia with those wins at 3 different racetracks.
Yeah, he's a cool horse. He won in one of those restricted maiden special weight races to start things off, and now a stakes winner taking the Jimmy Wingfield. He was kind of pressing in the 2 path when he took over under Jose Gomez in that Jimmy Wingfield. He kicked away from this field. Joey Freshwater, we did see come back with a big effort behind Surprise Boss against Older, and then winning the Bayshore, though he did regress on his numbers when winning that Bayshore.
Yeah, I just don't love the Bayshore in general as a race, and I thought the True's Gold had the ability to be forward but also to rate, and I thought it would make him very dangerous as a potential upsetter. Joey Freshwater, he's going to beat me. Horses out of the Bayshore. I know the second place finisher came back and ran very well in the Pate Mile. He finished third, improved his Beyer figure 15 points, but I feel like Gilmore really needed the race in the Bayshore, and I'm just not sure that it's indicative of the Bayshore being a better race than we thought.
Andiamo Afarense, blinkers going on this horse. Is this a horse that's quick enough potentially to pressure that Brad Cox runner?
I don't know if he is anymore. I do wonder, because he was so quick and he looked like he had such a big future when he was a 2-year-old, and then now it seems like he hasn't really trained on as much as you might have guessed that the connections would have hoped. The blinkers going on kind of feels like they're trying to reach back in and find some of that early speed that he had as a 2-year-old. Looms Boldly did come back and win again out of the Damon Runyon, but not the fastest race.
And I also wonder if Irad's looking at it much like the third race, where if I go into a heated speed duel with Brad Cox horse, maybe that horse loses, but my horse loses as well. So maybe I try to sit second, and we'll find out if I'm good enough down the lane.
Look forward to it. Should be a good one. Race 8, 4:40 Eastern start time for our feature on this Friday card. Take a look at what's ahead. Presented by Claiborne Farm. We're going to bring you races 4 through 9 still to come. Start of the pick 6 coming up. That late pick 5 in the 5th. And Churchill Downs, we'll get to Paula Duca in just a little bit. Fast and firm at both tracks. We'll have 4th through the 9th under the Twin Spires coming up. And of course, you can play all of it by getting signed up and started with Naira Bets. Go to nairabets.com, get that $200 deposit match sign up bonus for new members with the code match 200. Once again at nairabets.com. First 3 on the card, they all go to the man standing by with Maggie Wolfendale.
Right, Greg. Arad Ortiz with 2 2-year-old winners to start things off and getting the job done here, Arad. Talk a little bit about, I know it was a tough Keeneland meet for you, but you come back here, we were just talking, it just feels like home.
Yeah, it's home for me. We at Keeneland, we have a great meet. I think all the horses run good. We ride some nice horses. We try to do our best. We have a great meet. We win some races, and now we're back here. It's home for me. I feel great. Feel great to be back and see everybody. Just they see me since day one. Every step of my career I've been doing, so, and they always support me. So it's great to be back here.
It's just kind of like a sigh of relief. You feel like you can just kind of settle in and do your thing. I do want to ask you about the feature today. You'll be reunited with Andiamo Afarense. Arad, blinkers going on him. What's the game plan?
I mean, I want to see what they have to tell me in the paddock, but Kelly, but he's a nice horse. I think he can do anything. He's fast. That's his thing. He's fast, but we see. We have some other horses with speed on the race, but he's pretty fast. So let's see when the gate's open.
I like it. Well, hoping the day continues. All your success. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Maggie.
All right, Arad Ortiz back at home here at beautiful Belmont Park, guys.
They'll have Classic Catch at the Peter Pan on Saturday as well. One more look as this speedster starts to weaken right about here, and here comes Arad.
Sitting in the perfect position, and he had a lot of horse here. I guess that after that freshening from June to April was a pretty significant layoff. Bob Caceres has this horse going well. He came back and won, able to wire pretty comfortably last time. He faced tougher today, Andy, but didn't seem to bother him.
No, he was a different horse. I mean, this is a different horse for Bob Caceres. There's no doubt about it. I certainly didn't see it coming, but if you did, you got rewarded with a seemingly generous price.
$18.20, numbers you don't see with that rider in New York almost ever. As we head back to Louisville, 4th from Churchill Downs, $50,000 claiming race, 6 furlong sprint. And Flint Ridge, Nifty, the 1, the 3, both taking plenty of support. So is the 6 outside. Let's go to Paula Duca for more. Paulie, where do we wind up between those 3?
Well, I think it's a tough choice in here. As you can see, my new vantage point here where the new paddock is, and actually the horses are breaking right behind us in the chute. You know, when I looked at this race, you know, the one in here, Flint Ridge, warmed up tremendously for Luis Saez, and I think this horse is going to go to the front end. Now, you do have the 6 Divine Leader with Edgar Morales. Now, Edgar's not that aggressive. I think he's going to lay off the 1 in here. And then you got the 3 in here, Nifty, who's won 3 in a row. Now, Raylu Gutierrez jumps off the 1. He had won 3 in a row with the 1. And then he goes to the 3. The one thing about Nifty, you got to worry a tiny bit about the break. When I looked at his last 3 starts when he won at Sam Houston, kind of breaks a little slow, but then he gets into stride and gets going, and he looks like he's one of the horses that can at least pass horses in this race. Now, favoritism has literally gone back and forth between the 1, 3, and 6. I always thought Divine Leader was a nice horse, Greg, and I think with the outside draw, maybe be able to stalk the 1. But the way the 1 looked on the racetrack, they better not let the 1 get away from this group early on.
Paulie, thanks. And as we've gotten to know Luis Saez, how he's been so successful, he takes advantage, and he has a quick horse on the inside.
And they tried him against significantly tougher last time at Keeneland. You can understand he'd won 3 in a row, including that 94 Beyer speed figure at the fairgrounds. Wonder if he can take him every step.
Derby City 6 starts here. Let's go to Travis Stone.
They're in the gate, and they're off. Good start for Divine Leader on the far outside with Awesome Aaron away well, too. Those two crossover going 1, 2, and down toward the inside Nifty, and right at the rail is Flint Ridge. Steinbeck is back racing 5th and checking hard there. Flint Ridge checked very hard indeed. Lost 3 or 4 lengths and is relegated back to last. Clear sailing for long shot Awesome Aaron up the backstretch, though, and he speeds off to lead by 4 with 4 furlongs to go. Awesome Aaron throwing it down early and rocketed through a quarter in 21-1. Awesome Aaron fleet-footed on the far turn. Divine Leader's on the chase from second. 3 lengths back to Nifty and Steinbeck. Flint Ridge has been forced to the outside 5th. Racing for the quarter pole. Awesome Aaron trying to see it out. The lead's down to 2. Divine Leader saunters up on the outside and sets sights on the lead and takes it right at the 3/16. Flint Ridge, meanwhile, has taken over 3rd. Nifty down inside 4th. Final furlong. Divine Leader has gone clear by 4. And it will be Divine Leader who is wrapped up in the end under the wire to win it by 6 lengths. Tight for second there. Maybe Awesome Aaron held on despite that pace. Nifty was right there. Flint Ridge 4th.
Not quite the pace we expected. Tough situation for Luis Saez, who had to back out of there on Flint Ridge. 21-1 with Awesome Aaron the 5 in front. We're
all up here trying to figure out where Awesome Aaron got that speed from, and Luis Saez was trying to hustle Flint Ridge along, and I tell you, Raylu Gutierrez had better position with the 3 going in there, and Luis got squeezed out of that spot, changed his game, but this horse got a fast pace to run into, and the others just found some trouble.
Yeah, you could see Luis Saez every step, and we thought that the 1 Flint Ridge was going to be quick early from there, and he didn't break that well. Nothing really happened. It's just he was totally out-footed, and Luis Saez was working on him from every step, trying to get him up into position, and that's when he ran into trouble and steadied back really sharply, totally taking him out of the race.
You see out of the gate there, too, sort of the dangers of that inside post, and Churchill, Luis, and the 1 getting squeezed on a little bit from the outside horse.
Yeah, he just wasn't fast enough out of the gate. And that's what happens when you have the inside post and you have to be quick. You have to avoid that trouble that's coming to you. And that's when he ended up creating his own problems.
Divine Leader with a win. John Ennis, Edgar Morales, owned by Mark Arnold, 6-year-old son of Will Take Charge. Well, the price is for you when we come back. We'll talk Triple Crown, and the quest continues. What's next for Mage? Can he keep it rolling in Baltimore? We'll be back.
Catholic Boy, a Grade 1 winner on both dirt and turf, including this romp in the Run Happy Travers Stakes.
He's so impressive today, the others didn't even have a prayer!
This 6-time graded stakes winner was the fastest 3-year-old of his crop over 10 furlongs. At the sales, his first crop yearling sold up to $300,000. Dual Surface Grade 1 winner Catholic Boy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Back on America's Day of the Races on our FS2 coverage, brought to you in part by Hillendale at Alapa. And how about a son of Good Magic who stands at Hillendale, stepping up to win the Derby. I didn't realize Good Magic broke his maiden in the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah.
He won he lost a maiden race, even money on Travers Day, to a Todd Pletcher horse. Then he came back and he was nailed at the wire in the Champagne.
By Firenze Fire.
And then he galloped in the Breeders' Cup. And then lost his first star as a 3-year-old.
Second in the Kentucky Derby behind Justify.
And Chad Brown said he showed up in the paddock for the Kentucky Derby, and the minute he looked at Justify, he said, wow, we're in trouble.
I think everybody felt that way about Justify.
But I'll tell you something. If he had drawn outside of Justify in the Preakness, not inside of him, I think Justify wouldn't have won the Triple Crown.
Major Kentucky Derby winner, Javier Castellano, ending that 0 for 15 streak, said he saw a stat that the television production put up saying he was 0 for 15, used that as motivation. He said, we're going to end this today. It worked out for him.
Pretty special to see Javier Castellano getting the win, a son of Good Magic, Mage, a new stallion, really well represented. You see, I think 40% of Venezuela was in the winner's circle at the Kentucky Derby. Of course, Venezuela native Javier Castellano, native Gustavo Delgado, the trainer. And Gustavo, for those that are not familiar with him, he won the Triple Crown in Venezuela and in his native country. He's a really, really talented horseman. Has had some good horses like Bodie Express that have kind of been on the bigger stage, but primarily based in South Florida. I would imagine he'll get some more opportunities.
Who, Andy, should Mage be scared of on this list?
Confidence game for sure. He ran the best of any speeds not named 2 fills. He probably needed the race, so he's dangerous. First Mission, he sort of speaks for himself as an improving horse. Honestly, I don't see anybody else in there that really scares me. Are we missing the Chad Brown horse in there?
Blazing Seven.
Oh, he's first, yeah. Personally, I don't really like his chances. I would be worried about Confidence Game and First Mission or Mage, but I'll tell you something, they all need to worry about Mage.
Connections were saying after a workout today, they'd make that decision, and they made it official. So here's one of the horses, new faces, he will tackle in Baltimore. Blazing Sevens for Chad Brown.
Another son of Good Magic, in fact, and Chad has made this kind of decision before with horses that are eligible to run in the Derby, in making the decision to bypass the Kentucky Derby and point for the Preakness, of course, just last year with early voting. And Andy, I think you brought up a great point that as a result, Blazing Sevens probably is going to take maybe even more attention than he should, because his trainer has successfully made this kind of move twice just recently.
And it's hard to argue with it. On the other hand, those were horses that appeared to want a lot of distance. And I think there's reason to question whether or not Blazing Sevens is really a horse you want beyond a 1-turn mile.
Occasion this big win for Confidence Game and the Grade 2 Rebel on that wet track. And then, curiously, that was late February. They don't get another prep into him. They go straight to the Derby.
I've become a bit of a fan of this horse. I mean, you can see he has that big, long stride. He just looks like a horse that kind of gobbles up the ground. And yes, it was not the most usual of routes to come into the Kentucky Derby, and it's a really tall order. We didn't see him in the Arkansas Derby. I think that he is a horse that's going to take a huge step forward out of that Kentucky Derby, and is one I'm really excited to see tackle the Preakness.
He's kind of this year's Oxbow. He's the one horse that was involved in the pace from the Derby that's coming back. And he didn't run that badly, beaten 14 lengths even. It shows how well 2 fills ran. It didn't happen by design that he went from the Rebel to the Kentucky Derby. Obviously, there were some issues. Rebel took a real toll on him, and they couldn't get him back to the races really until shortly before the Derby. So they got a shot. So in reality, and I think Keith Sorman even said that as trainer, they used the Derby as a prep. And make no mistake, his Rebel was probably one of the most impressive Kentucky Derby preps we ran all year.
See if he can make an impact a week from Saturday in Baltimore in that middle jewel of the Triple Crown. Race 4 next here at Belmont. Kicks off this pick 6 on our Friday card. 6-furlong sprint over the inner turf, $25,000 claiming race. Let's head downstairs to Maggie.
Off with number 4 in here, who has an unfortunate but kind of funny name in Strong Odor, being a daughter of Strong Mandate out of Tuna. But she returns to what she physically is meant to do, getting away from the synthetic track at Turfway and back on the turf, sprinting here. I like what I see from her. She is pretty icy on the board, but let's ignore the Turfway Park form and go back, and it makes her a legitimate player here. I mean, she was competing against some better horses going back to last year than what she faces here, and she looks sensational in the paddock. She's one that doesn't necessarily look as though she has raced the entire winter because she is just so healthy, really well-rounded here as Mike Maker looks for a second win on the card. Number 6, the Wise Guy horse that has become everybody's horse in Spicy Margarita for Kieran McGee. She tried the turf for the first time at Laurel in her last effort, and it was impressive. Visually, it was impressive, and she was relishing getting over the turf. You know, just really bounding along very smoothly over the turf course there. Now, she did duel with the favorite, Threat Level Midnight, who's good, but maybe is she one that's moving the wrong direction? And then everybody else in that field, I question. And it feels like several other contenders in here have been facing those tried and true, gritty turf sprint fillies and mares. Now, I do like her a little bit more, having now seen her in the paddock, where she's a big filly. She looks turf. I mean, she's a very flat turf hoof to her, and she's just solid and healthy looking. Now, she does keep those front wraps on, not something you typically see on the turf, but she's always worn them, so it doesn't really bother me that much. She does make a nice impression in the paddock, although I was a little bit dubious of who she'd faced in her last start. Number 8, Jockey the Joker, daughter of Practical Joke, will try the turf for the first time. Now, the dam was a multiple stakes winning New York bred on the turf, and 4 siblings have won on the turf, all of which, though, going a bit longer. But I think with the Practical Joke on the top side, 6 furlongs in the turf fits perfectly. Physically, she looks like she should turf in here. Look, her recent form has a bit of a strong odor, but if she can recreate some of her dirt form that has been sprinkled in with some good efforts on the turf, she could be right there in the mix, and she's going to be a generous price on the outside, Greg.
All right, Maggie, thank you. 11-1 on that first timer on the turf. Jockey the Joker, pick 6 starts here. Pool 46,000 and growing. Well, the post parade for you from this 4th at Belmont when we come back.
And it's a vintage performance by Vino Rosso in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Nest, much the best.
Elite Power on the far outside, and Elite Power gets up to win the sprint. On the outside, it's Malafat coming to the wire. Who's it gonna be? It is Malafat.
RaceLens is the most in-depth product in horse racing, with unique features found nowhere else. True odds, predictive analysis, and pace projection. RaceLens. It will change the way you follow horse racing and take your game to the next level.
The Cross Country Pick 5 combines the best racing from New York with top races from around the country in one bet. Find it in your track menu and play this weekend. Races and free PPs posted at NYRA.com/crosscountry.
Talent. Standing at Gainesway.
Live racing returns to Monmouth Park Saturday, May 13th with a new 1240 first post. The stakes are higher at the Jersey Shore, as every Saturday and Sunday card will feature at least one stakes event all season long. Win early and often with our Win Early Pick 5. Joining us on site, be sure to lock in your odds with fixed odds wagering at Monmouth Park Racetrack.
Welcome to those just joining us on FS2. This is America's Day at the Races. Friday card from Belmont Park, Churchill Downs coming up. Hi, Katie Davis. Had a nice win yesterday on Daddy Knows. Lot to smile about. We're getting set for the pick 6 coming up in just 3 minutes. Greg Wolf alongside Acacia Clement, Andy Serling. We have Maggie Wolfendale with us here in Paula Duca out at Churchill. We have a good feature here later today, too, in the Gold Fever.
Looking forward to it. Some nice sprinters. And as Andy got me with a good trivia the other day, Gold Fever winner of the Naira Mile.
He actually, I believe, won the last Naira Mile.
Before
I
it was
believe
Cigar
we
Mile.
turned to the Cigar Mile the next year when Flying Chevron won, but it was a big field. And Gold Fever, owned by Cynthia Phipps and trained by Shug McGay.
That's our feature coming up later today. Is a scratch in that race. One of the Jimmy Chapman runners comes out. Drew's Goldo, his other runner, 3 for 3, stays in from that inside post. We're looking forward to that one coming up later on the card. Right now it's pick 6 time. 6 furlong sprint over the inner turf, $25,000 claiming race, and Spicy Margarita. Taking a lot of money right now. Horse was dominant at Laurel, going 5.5 furlongs on the grass last start.
It's an unusual horse, and I imagine, like me, Acacia, you looked up this horse's pedigree after seeing that impressive win and found no turf pedigree to speak of whatsoever.
None.
I like this horse. I think she's the speed. I think Carol Sain is going to center the lead. But do you ask yourself, why would you have a horse that runs as impressively as she did first time on the turf and bring it up to New York where you're almost certainly going to get the horse claimed at the beginning of the turf season?
Some odd moves for sure, and especially at 7-5.
Proper grammar, 40 to 1 shot moving by. We'll see Strong Odor next. 9-2, Kendra Carmouche for Mike Maker.
Despite the unfortunate name, she does have some very strong turf races on the go back and finally gets back on the grass after a string of synthetic tries. It's been a while since she's seen the winner's circle.
So here's crowding out 6 to 1, Speedster, Jose Gomez, Kelly Breen.
She's probably the biggest potential thorn in the side of the speed of Spicy Margarita.
And both these two very quick. 2-time winner on the lawn here of the 5. Next door, the one we were talking about, Spicy Margarita, that dominant score in Maryland.
And that was her lone turf start. The dam was 0 for 1. Her only start was sprinting on the dirt. All of the other foals were winless. There's nothing to really suggest that she would take to it, but Maggie talked about already some of the physical attributes for her, and visually, she did handle it nicely.
More Mango did win sprinting on the turf at Belmont. That was last summer.
Yeah, for a 40 to 1 shot, the one thing you can say is she's at least running at the right distance today.
And the new face on the grass, Jackie the Joker.
She actually does have turf pedigree. The dam was a 2-time winner of the Yaddo. She was a 5-time turf winner, and there were 3 foals that won on the grass.
And her dam Latitude 40 was trained by one of the kindest men in the history of racing, in John Hertler. And we wish John well wherever he is, and I loved Latitude 40. Yeah. She was literally one of my favorite horses.
Cool.
We're going to bring in for the first time today Jonathan Kinch. And Andy, did you have a message you wanted to send to JK at all?
I have nothing whatsoever to say to JK.
Okay.
Nothing at all. Is there something I should know?
Andy was wondering where you were at the meeting, JK.
Yeah, that's a good point. Where were you?
I was there. I was there. My phone's been having some issues.
We all have
issues. It's weird. My phone, I can hear on my phone, but I can't speak. I went down to the store today. I'm working on that. So I was on the call. But I appreciate you guys checking in on me. It means the world to me. I'm going to go with the 5 in here, crowding out. Turf sprints. I think a lot of horse players struggle with turf sprints because a lot of times they can look like they're loaded with speed, and sometimes the speed just stays on. We saw it on Derby Day in the turf sprint there, where a big-priced horse wires the field. And you're expecting that these races are going to fall apart, and so often they don't. And one of my defaults in these turf races when I don't really know is I just find who I think to be the best speed, and I try to lean and build things around that. And for me, it's the 5 crowding out. If you look at crowding out, the last couple of starts have been the flat 5 down at Gulfstream, which is a significantly different race than the 6 furlongs you'll see here at Belmont. Look, I think crowding out, if you look back in the past performances, the times this horse has had an opportunity to go 6 furlongs or 5.5 have been significantly better than the last 2 races, and I'm hoping that getting back to these longer distances help a little bit more. But more importantly than what I have to say, we got to check in with my friend Maggie Wolfendale.
Well, JK, I do like crowding out in here from the physical perspective of things, and exactly what you said. Those 5 flat 5s at Gulfstream, you have to be wicked quick, and she is fast out of the gates. And furthermore, today, she's very eager, very sharp in all the preliminaries, and she's bulked up a bit, which I appreciate. The one drawback with her is that the front wraps go on, and as I often say, you don't see front wraps typically worn by turf horses. But I'm going to ultimately go with the nearly white number 4, Strong Odor. I like the warm-up that Kendrick Carmouche gave her. Look, she's not the quickest, but I think there's enough tractability with her that she won't be too far off of it. And I just love her getting back to what she has proven to be best at, and that's sprinting here on the turf. Greg?
Maggie, thanks. There's our analyst selections. A lot of love for the 5 here, crowding out at 6-1, and the public just all over that turf debut winner, Spicy Margarita.
And it makes sense. I mean, visually, the race, she moved beautifully on the turf. She kicked away from the rest of the field. I thought she did it really, really nicely. I thought Andy's point was well taken, though, too, about coming here and taking a drop in class. You could try to get a little bit more aggressive with her if she ran so well on the grass at Laurel.
Yeah, I mean, she wasn't for 20 last time, to be fair. She was playing for 20, but it just seems like they've got a horse that's kind of shown herself to be a horse they probably didn't expect. They probably didn't expect that she was going to run as well as she did. The fourth place finisher was 8-5, is actually okay. She buried the other speeds. This was an exceptional effort last time. I really like her off that race, but they did seemingly bring her here saying, let's hope we win a race and get rid of her, which always makes me kind of a little bit wary.
Pick 6 starts here. Let's go to John Imbrial to kick it off.
Just about set now, and the field is indeed ready to go for race number 4 here at beautiful Belmont Park. And they're off. Crowding out for the early lead with Spicy Margarita running in second and Jockey the Joker up close on the outside in third. Jockey the Joker bobbled just a bit there. Down on the inside is Jill's a Hot Mess racing in fourth. Then the gray, Strong Odor next in fifth. Alongside is more Mango. Proper Grammar is down at the rail, and It's a Keeper trails the field in eighth. A battle up front, crowding out in between horses Spicy Margarita, and on the outside is Jockey the Joker. The opening quarter, 22 seconds. They start the run around the turn, crowding out down at the rail. Spicy Margarita right there on the outside. Jockey the Joker now 3/4 of a length behind. Jill's a Hot Mess has sat just behind those front runners in fourth. And Jill's a Hot Mess will need some racing room as they come off the turn and enter the stretch. It is Spicy Margarita and crowding out Jill's a Hot Mess now with a way through and is coming on. It's a Keeper out in the middle of the course is gaining ground. Here comes It's a Keeper. Here comes Jill's a Hot Mess. Jill's a Hot Mess, and It's a Keeper on the outside. And those two will fight it out to the finish. It's a Keeper narrowly. Jill's a Hot Mess. It's a Keeper is the winner. Jill's a Hot Mess was second. And Strong Odor came on to get third.
Poor Jill's a Hot Mess. That's 4 consecutive runner-up finishes on the lawn. It's a Keeper outduels her to the wire.
It's a Keeper was full of steam under Junior Alvarado on that drop in class. She was running late. It just has been so long since we've seen her win, August of 2021, but she got the right kind of setup today, Andy.
And watching this race, it makes me think about a conversation you and I had yesterday, Acacia. When the rails went out 9 feet on the inner turf as they are this year, they are right now, last year, there were 2 separate periods of 2 weeks. The rail was dead and outside closers dominated whether the paces were fast or slow. And this makes me wonder if maybe there's a little edge to being towards the outside. The reality of it is the six Spicy Margarita ran nowhere close to how well that she ran in her last race, and they'll probably be happy to have lost her in here. As far as It's a Keeper, she occasionally shows up with a good one. Today was one of those days.
4th win on the lawn for the 7-year-old mare. Still got plenty of run left in her. 1-2-4-8 finish.
6-1 price on It's a Keeper as well. And Junior Alvarado, he obviously rides First Call for Belmont, and those have kind of been his big marquee wins, but he's been having a very, very solid year. And how fun was it seeing Cody's Wish come back so impressively at Churchill?
He was really, I mean, that was just a completely paceless race. It was as though they were running 2 races, his race and everybody else.
We're going to take a timeout while the prices set up the late pick 5 when we come back. We're back with you on America's Day of the Races on our Friday coverage. Just a gorgeous day in Belmont, New York. Our Pick 6 underway. It's brought to you in part where you can play it all. Naira Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Go to nairabets.com. Good time to be riding for Belmont. We talked about all the mounts Junior Alvarado has with him, including Cody's Wish. Riding here for Tom Albertrani, and it's a keeper with Junior getting the 4th turf win of her career.
You can see just how far off the pace she was, and when she tipped out, he was full of horse and full of run, and this is the point when the horses that were up front, the 5 crowding out the pace setter, and the 6 Spicy Margarita, who was hanging on the left lead, started to get leg weary. Not till the closers started rolling, Andy.
And you can't give a better ride than Javier Castellano gave the runner-up as well, and it just shows you win a race, and not that Javier's been riding great for a while, but you win a race like the Derby, and where it does your confidence and your riding. But with Jill Ness, she's an honest horse that always shows up well. She just came up second best, as she seemingly often does.
One you'd probably love to have in the barn, though. She keeps earning checks. But yeah, 4 consecutive seconds for Jill's a hot mess on the lawn. 1, 2, 4, 8. That first timer on the lawn, the 8, Jackie the Joker checking in 4th to round out the Superfecta. Pick 6 underway with a mild upset. We're going to head to Churchill Downs. Race 5, $20,000 maiden claiming 6 furlong sprint. It kicks off their late pick 5. Let's go to Paul Duca.
Yeah, a tough race to start to pick 5, Greg. A bunch of fillies here. We do have 1 4-year-old filly. The rest of them are 3-year-old fillies. That'll be the 6 in here. She'll carry 6 pounds more than the 3-year-olds. But, I mean, you just look at the betting board. It's a confusing race in here. When I looked at this race originally, I thought the 2 actually would be your favorite here. They're going to the outside filly, Coexist. And I get it. This horse didn't get the greatest of breaks last time and made a late rally into 5th and was okay. And I don't think it was that much of that big of a mood to warrant 7-2. Now the favoritism has gone to the 2 now at around 2-1. I thought there was other fillies in here that looked very, very good. I mean, the 5, the first time starter, looked really well on the racetrack for Luis Machado. Dream Tap. I thought this horse looked well. I thought the 4 was another horse that looked well. The 3. So the 9 to me, I don't think is a good play at that price. And the 2 Shackled by Loss now at 2-1 or 3-1. I don't know if that's a great play as well. But I do think the Joe Sharp horse is the horse to beat. I think she's going to be tough. And then the 7 in here, Jackie Spirit. You know, you go back and you look at her first race here at Churchill Downs. I know this was a long time ago when she was a 2-year-old. She ran well here. And Carla Becquerez has already had a couple runners that have run well. And I think she can make a good account of herself as well in here. Tom Amos's runner, I think you just obviously throw out that first start too as well. And Tom is here at the racetrack too. Got to be able to say hi to him. And he said he thought his horse was really live. And she's acting a little antsy a little bit around the gate. So it's going to be very interesting what happens here. I'm going to softly land on the 2 in here, Jonathan, with a tiny bit of sprinkle of the 5, the first time starter, and the 7. I don't know where you're going to go in this tough race.
Yeah, you know, most of these times when you're looking at these maiden claiming races, I try to find maiden special weight speed dropping. And I like to see some clues, and the best thing I could come up with would be the 1 Divine Grace. Nice price on the board as well, which is a little bit concerning because her final numbers aren't really all that fast. But she has been running in maiden special weight races, although it's running in maiden special weight races at racetracks that I think most in this country would consider a cut below what you're going to see at Churchill Downs. No offense to our friends at Hawthorne or Mahoning Valley. It's just a different level of racing. I ended up kind of looking to the 3 Zip and Pippin. I think the 1 is interesting as a price underneath, but the 3 Zip and Pippin, if you look at the start, a couple back down at Fairgrounds, was bet that day, got a wide trip that day, and I thought ran pretty well. Went to Oaklawn Park at a bigger price, didn't run horribly, but didn't show that early speed. And then at Keeneland, got stuck down on the inside. So I'm going to give Zip and Pippin another opportunity here, and the price of 6-1 works for me. I'm going to use the 3 on top, but I'm going to sprinkle in a little bit like Paulie, the 1 Divine Grace somewhere underneath.
Yeah, the 1 a little interesting, some speed inside, blinkers coming off, 13-1 now. Andy, who do you like in here?
I like the 8. I think the 8 Brisbane Road is very interesting for Tom Amos. This horse had a bit of a trip first time out, and I think it's kind of interesting. I boxed 7-8 in here and bet a little to win the 8 Brisbane Road. We obviously all have a lot of different opinions in here.
thought the 7, Jockey Spirit, was a little interesting. And Pippin's my cat's name, so Zip and Pippin's probably my hunch bet in here.
Oh, it's always good to be your cat names.
Yeah, always.
Hunch plays pay off. Got to use them. 3 is Zip and Pippin. I believe 7-1 the last time we saw. This starts the late pick 5 from Churchill Downs. Travis Stone, the call.
They're in the gate. And they're off. Slow start for Dream Trap. Brisbane Road breaks alertly, and so does Divine Grace. And between them, it's Jockey Spirit racing up. Zip and Pippin is there. Coexist from the outside. Onto the main track they go, and it's Jockey Spirit on through to challenge Brisbane Road for the lead. They go head and head. Coexist on the outside is up into 3rd. Gormley-esque in tight, while 4th, Zip and Pippin toward the rail 5th. Amon set 2 lengths farther back in 6th. Then it's Divine Grace while 7th. Dream Trap 8th while wide. Shackled by Lust, a trailer for the far turn and is 8 lengths behind. They're on the turn now. Brisbane Road and Jockey Spirit going head to head. Coexist is right there 3 wide. Gormley-esque comes on 4 wide. Amundset comes on 5 wide. Zip and Pippin is right in behind with nowhere to go. They're at the quarter pole. Jockey Spirit, Brisbane Road headed off the turn. Coexist comes on, and here comes Coexist. Set down for the drive, and Amundset's on the scene too. 1 furlong to go. Jockey Spirit trying to fend off Coexist. Coexist keeps on coming. Takes the lead right at the 16th. Jockey Spirit back into 2nd. Divine Grace late on the scene. Coexist the winner. Coexist won it, and Jockey Spirit was 2nd. Divine Grace from nowhere to grab 3rd, and Amundset was 4th.
Coexist is the 2nd time on dirt, trained by Byron Hughes. Luis Saez, the victory, 9-7-1.
This was the one that was taking the early money and kind of ranged up on the outside, Andy. You have to give Jockey Spirit some credit. Was pressured by the 8 Brisbane Road, who you liked, and actually ran a very good race with that pressure. And Jockey Spirit holding on as much as she possibly could, but only to be run down by Coexist.
No, there's no question the 8 Brisbane Road cost Jockey Spirit the race. I was mystified as to why Coexist was getting bet before the race. I guess it's the Luis Saez. They're going to bet all his horses. But if they keep running like this, maybe they're right. But after the race, I still don't see it. Did anybody here like, anybody on the show like the 9 particularly?
I think we all were trying to go against her.
What was one of the players?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not to,
7
listen, I didn't like this horse at all. I mean, I was wrong.
9-7-1 finish. Coexist. 3-year-old filly by Creative Cause for Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners. The win 4-1 to start off the late pick 5 this weekend. We have a grade 1 on the turf here at Belmont. The Man Awards, our ABR race of the week. We look forward to it on the Saturday card. We hope you join us. Mile and 3/8 over the inner turf. And look out, Charlie Appleby sighting. Warren Point. Frankie Dettori will be in town. And we'll see if Charlie Appleby's domination can continue here in the States.
And it does look like of all of the horses that Charlie Appleby has sent over, Warren Point may not necessarily be the same kind of class as some of the others that we've seen coming here to the States. But Charlie has been incredible with deciding which horses suit American racing and which ones he opts to ship over. So this is a horse that ran quite well in the Amir Trophy in Qatar, in Doha behind Russian Emperor last time out, did win in Bahrain. And so you wonder, how does that form stack up coming in here? I don't know, Andy. I think it's an opportunity to potentially try and beat him, but he's just been so dominant with these shippers.
I'm assuming this is his race 2 back.
Yes.
Last time out, the horse he lost to was a 6-year-old. It was a good 3-year-old, but he's been sort of ho-hum since then. Broom, who's an Aidan O'Brien horse we have some familiarity with, ran the Breeders' Cup Turf, finished 5th in that race. I almost wonder if Charlie Appleby and the other people at Godolphin took a good look at the division, the older horse routing division, and thought, we've got to find some horses to run in those races because they're there to be taken. And he's just not meeting any superstars, and I don't think he's a superstar either. And I agree with you occasionally that he's not as good as some of the ones we've seen them bring over. but he still might be good enough to win here. But he's a little bit dicey, I got to admit.
Some of the big players in the division are older now. Some other big players like Gufo retired this year. So it does leave the kind of long-distance turf division a little bit more open, and you wonder if some of the big names in here still kind of have that fight left.
Yeah, a couple of 9-year-olds, to your point. We'll see in this race Channel Maker, and then Red Knight, who ran against Verstappen last time out. Grade 2 Elkhorn at Keeneland actually just missed against him. Verstappen would get this win, second turf win of his career.
The most amazing thing to me still, Andy, is that House Street was the favorite in this Elkhorn, still the lightly raced 4-year-old. But Verstappen, with the big win, pulling an upset that day for trainer Brendan Walsh, who, of course, has been having a terrific run, Kentucky Oaks winner, and this horse getting back onto the grass, and that's what he wants to do. He is one of those nice closing types.
Great trips and great rides for both the first and second place finishers in here, and they're both players in this race. And I also think that the old Pro Channel Maker will run better in his second race off a layoff. And you mentioned House Street, who's back in here. His trainer, Jorge Abreu, who really is an excellent horseman, he's now 0 for 56 in his career, I believe, as a trainer in graded stakes. And he was favored. I have no idea why he was favored last time either.
That's an incredible
Too
stat.
good a trainer for that stat to last too much longer. We'll see House Street, 4-year-old, who took a shot against those two in that Elkhorn. That was his first try in graded stakes competition. See if he can rebound a little, and then another try against some top-level company. We look forward to that, our ABR race of the week. Grade 1 Man of War. We'll start off a middle pick 4 on that Saturday card here at Belmont on our coverage. So take a look at the cross-country pick 5 sequence, which the Man of War will be leg 2. Begins with a Churchill maiden special weight. Includes the Peter Pan. Stepping Stone quite often to the Belmont Stakes for the winner, and the Long Branch of Monmouth.
They're also, for people that are wondering why they're the 5th and 6th races, it's because our show tomorrow is on from 12:30 to 4, and we want to have them on Fox. They're also part of a pick 5 here at Belmont, which will be our 4th through 8th races. So a couple of pick 5 sequences to choose from involving both the Man of War and Peter Pan, for those of you that are worried that they're not in the late pick 5 here at Belmont.
Speaking of Jorge Abreu, he's got the current favorite right now coming up at the 5th at Belmont to start the late pick 5, Alice Cramden, the 2. That's a look at Lamani, though. Got to deal with a Chad Brown class dropper that will have Manny Franco aboard. We'll be back.
Whatever you use to predict future stallion success, breathe slowly and gaze at the desert's first great championship race. Curlin won it. So did Street Cry, Arrogate, and now, in a time even faster than Arrogate's, Mystic Guide. The cold hard fact is, after this, he was rated the best horse in the world. Mystic Guide. New to Darley.
Experience the adrenaline-pumping, suspense-filled action of the Sport of Kings no matter where you are with Naira Bets. It's fast, easy, and secure. Download the app today and start winning with our lucrative weekly promotions, thrilling handicapping contests, and a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. Don't just watch horse racing, be a part of the action with Naira Bets.
Independence Hall is hands down one of the most impressive horses I've ever seen physically.
Independence Hall is pouring it on here in the Nashua Stakes. Won by maybe a dozen lengths.
Independence Hall wins the Hagyard Fayette.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Back on our FS2 coverage, America's Day at the Races. This is coming up on Network Fox for the first time ever. third and final leg of the Triple Crown, the test of the champion, the Belmont Stakes. You'll see it live on Fox Saturday, June 10th. Will we see a chance for a Triple Crown on the line? We're going to find out a week from Saturday if Mage can keep things going in the Preakness in Baltimore.
What do you guys think? I think it's a very good chance.
I have never been a part of a Triple Crown on the line while working at NYRA, so I would like to experience that.
So in other words, you're bad luck. That's what you're really talking
And by the way, this is the first time since Justify the Derby winner is going on to the Preakness.
Wow.
Which
Can you
is
believe
pretty
that?
wild, yeah.
2018.
Well, so 1 year of the pandemic.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happened in the other
Couple
year?
of
I mean, last year they didn't
disqualifications.
run.
Ridge Strike, they didn't opt to go.
Oh, disqualifications.
Yeah.
Right.
Country
House, and no, Medina
Mandaloon,
Medina Spirit ran.
He ran in the Preakness, but was disqualified.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's like an asterisk.
Unheard of, though, that to be that long. Let's head downstairs. Pick 5 coming up. Let's go to Maggie Wolfendale.
Horses leaving the paddock as we'll take a look at number 2, Alice Cramden, as she's your current favorite. Now, I thought she ran okay for, well, 4 furlongs in her debut against what was a tough field of New York bred fillies. I liked her that day, and honestly, I'm seeing the same filly, and she has grown up again, which is always good to see, from 2 to 3, and she just looks really ready. So I have no problems with her whatsoever being a short price in here. She's drifted back up to 7 to 2. Your current favorite is number 5. That's Lamani, and I do think she gets a little bit of an excuse for her only try on the dirt. It was off of a 10-month layoff. It was a tiring, slow, deep type of track, and that's not easy to do. So she's at a pace and tired. She looks incredibly fit here now, 3rd off, and to me, she does actually look more like a dirt horse. Next, we'll move on to the far outside with number 12, my Malibu Honey. She tries the dirt here, and she kind of has a pedigree that could go either way. The lone sibling did win on the turf, but she is by Malibu Moon, and she looks fine getting on the dirt. She just looks as though she's still going to need a race from the fitness perspective, Greg.
Maggie, thank you. So we'll see if this one can shift to dirt after that turf debut. Going 5 furlongs at Gulfstream, never really got involved in that race. Pick 5 pool, over 200,000 and growing as they come through the tunnel for the race that will kick off this pick 5. 6 furlongs, state bred 30 maiden claiming race, and the favorite, a Chad Brown filly, dropping down in class. I have some New York bred maiden specials.
I have a goofy pick here, and it's probably going to end up being even goofier after the race. The 8 For All the Girls. This horse comes out of a maiden claiming race that was unusually live. The first and second horses ran significantly improved figures in their last races, and this horse broke slow in there, and I just thought in this field, I want somebody strange.
Scherzer went by, first time started for Ray Handel. Here's Alice Cramden.
We haven't seen this filly since her debut as a 2-year-old in Saratoga. She comes back off the layoff and immediately drops down for 30.
Wine Goddess, 0 for 11.
I like the name, but she's had a lot of chances, and they've tried a variety of distances and surfaces with her.
Current favorite, the drop-down filly for Chad Brown, Lamani.
Well, this is why I'm taking a chance with the horse like the 8, because her credentials are almost non-existent, yet she's not surprisingly the favorite. She might be one of the slowest horses in Chad Brown's barn, and she still may win this race.
Mrs. Bell, Bonnie Lucas, 0 for 11.
Javier Castellano takes the mount, so there's that, but this is another one who's had a lot of chances and a disappointing 4th last out.
8 to 1, Bustin' Roxy, who should be showing some speed, if nothing else.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Greg. I don't know if she's good enough, but she should be forward.
Maddie Olver, 7-pound apprentice, will be aboard. Here's the 8 For All the Girls. Joey Martinez rides.
Andy likes this one, and you're going to get a nice price, 20 to 1, just like on the morning line. Certainly could take a step forward, second time out.
My inner voice. Going to cut back, turf to dirt.
Yeah, I searched to find a reason like anybody. This horse a little bit interesting. 2 races back, maybe can improve, but I don't know.
32 to 1, Magnolia win, Gregory DePrima.
Has to get out of the gate well. That's been her issue in all of her starts so far.
Derwin's Painter, 16 to 1. We'll try an equipment change.
Yeah, you got to try something at this point with this horse going back from turf to dirt. I mean, she's just in the same group with so many of these.
And outside, here's the one that debuted on grass at Gulfstream, My Malibu Honey.
And for Roddy Valenti and Dr. Walensky, they always, if they have horses in Florida, they're with Joe Orsino. This one's a New York bred. It comes up, moves to Bruce Levine. That's a typical type of switch for them. It's just such an odd move. This filly didn't really run at all, sprinting on the turf down at Gulfstream. Now as a New York bred, she comes up here, immediately drops and goes to the dirt. I don't know what to make of her.
Big 5 pool, 246,000 and growing. Andy, did you say similar to lean in this pick 5 sequence?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Boy, the next race is wide open. I mean, probably the biggest lean will be the one, Don't Mess with Tess in race number 7. I'm taking a shot to beat her with Lady Thornton, but she is very much the one to beat. I mean, it depends the thing about Squire Creek and the feature. The 9th race today, I think, is the most interesting race the entire day. Nowhere to lean, at least for me there.
Good sequence. Good luck to everyone going after it today. You can play it as you see there with NYRABets.com. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Here's the 5. Lamani. So this Chad Brown filly dropping in for a tag for the first time. And the only dirt race came February 10th. Here it is. Did show some early speed, going 7 furlongs.
She did, and that was against New York bred maiden special weight and off of a significant layoff. The problem is that, and you typically don't really see this with a Chad Brown runner, Andy. It almost feels like he's been searching with her. You know, she started on synthetic, then on turf, then sprinting on the dirt. It's like trying to find the right spot for her, and now she goes back to the dirt with a drop in class. The only time I've actually ever seen her in the flesh was her debut down at Gulfstream, and just felt that she just lacked some substance and strength that you would want to see, and it looks like she hasn't really even found that throughout her running. At 5-2, she's not really one that I would really want to go with this wide open field.
And what you're really doing is making the case for why I pick the 8 here, and I'm betting a few dollars on her, because certainly Lamani can win here. Certainly Alice Cramden can win this race. I suppose even the horse on the bottom horse could win this race, a stranger the crew. But none of them have anything that's particularly appealing about them. And the Chad Brown factor with the 5, it's just a lot to do with her being 5-2. Imagine she came into this race for a trainer, and maybe the Chad Brown factor matters because he wins. But if she came in for a number of trainers in here, she could be 6-1 off these lines, couldn't she?
Ability against a better field that had a couple of multiple winners, you don't think deserving of favoritism?
She isn't even the favorite. Alice Cramden is. No. I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. But 5-2? I mean, look at this. Look at this way, Greg. I know you and the way you bet. You would never bet a horse like this at 5-2. You'd use her in a pick 5, but you wouldn't lean on a horse like this.
No,
there's nobody in here that is even remotely reliable.
JK, what do you think in terms of a lean and with the 5?
You know, it's tricky. I kind of see what you guys are saying, and we talk about it, you know, in the summer all the time at Saratoga, to Chad or not to Chad, because, you know, he wins a lot of races, but everyone, that's no secret, he gets bet a lot. I think if you look at Lamani and you cover up the turf races and the synthetic race, probably make her the favorite in here, and the most likely winner. But you take into account her other races where she hasn't run particularly well. It makes you kind of question how good she actually is. It makes it a little bit harder to trust her. And then also, if you take into the fact that she's going to be a little bit overbet because it's Chad in a dropping situation, trying to look elsewhere. But in a race where it's hard to look elsewhere, I wouldn't get too carried away trying to beat Lamani in here. Feels like one of those 5-2 favorites that wins by 4 because the rest of them just weren't that good anyways. However, I'm going to take a chance with the 1 Scherzer down on the inside. I'm hoping that when we get to Maggie here in a second, she can give me some encouraging thoughts about Scherzer, because I just like inside draw. This horse to be hustled away from there, hopefully make the lead, and hopefully be better than the rest of them.
Well, JK, what I can say about Scherzer is that she is well prepared in here. She looks fit, but she's wearing blinkers. And I know that Ray Handel trained the dam. Wonder how I got here. But woof, this is not a very productive pedigree whatsoever. Like I said, I don't mind her physically, but there just wasn't enough pedigree for me to feel confident in suggesting her. Now, Lamani, she ticks every box. I like what I'm seeing from her. She warmed up better, in my opinion, than number 2, Alice Cramden, and I just think that she is the horse to beat. And going off of what Acacia said, because I have actually never seen her before, she does look strong. now she's third off of a layoff. She's the horse to beat. But I'm going to go with a weirdo here who is weirdly taking some money. In number 11, Derwin's Painter, who turns back for Phil Serpy. She looks fantastic. She's healthy. She's completely dappled. She's really short coupled. So the turn back makes a lot of sense as she does apply those short cup cheater blinkers. Greg.
All right, Maggie, thank you. Pick 5 starts here. It is a difficult sequence. Good luck. We go upstairs. John Imbrial with the call.
Lamani has gone into the starting gate, waiting for just a few more. Number 10, Magnolia Wind, steps up. And then we'll be left with the 6, Mrs. Bell, the 11, Derwin's Painter, and the 12, My Malibu Honey. Field of 11. Set to go the 6 furlongs as we get into the late pick 5. Mrs. Bell now in, and that leaves us with the outside 2. Number 11, Derwin's Painter, long shot, and the 4-to-1 shot, number 12, My Malibu Honey. And we are all set for race 5. And they're off. And it is Alice Cramden who goes out for the lead. Bustin' Roxy runs in second. My Malibu Honey Extreme outside. Lamani is up close and racing in fourth. Magnolia Wind on the outside in fifth. Scherzer was off a step slow, has advanced up into sixth. Then Mrs. Bell, who's running in seventh. Derwin's Painter on the outside, moving up now. And then comes For All the Girls, followed by My Inner Voice, and trailing the field is Wine Goddess. The quarter went in 22 and 4/5 seconds, and it is My Malibu Honey from that outside post position with the lead here, 3/4 of a length. Bustin' Roxy is down at the rail. Then Lamani, Scherzer steadying there in between horses. Room on the inside for Alice Cramden, and now she's coming on. Alice Cramden up to challenge for the lead. Alice Cramden now to take the lead. The half in 46 and 3/5 seconds. Then it is Bustin' Roxy, is Scherzer in between. Lamani is on the outside, but in the meantime, Alice Cramden has opened up on the field here, and it's going to be another victory for jockey Rod Ortiz Jr. Alice Cramden, bang, zoom.
Well done, John Imbrial. 4 today through 5 races for Rod Ortiz Jr.
Well, he didn't have a mount in the 4th race, but, you know, I mean, he could have done better, Andy. You know, he should have picked up a mount in the 4th race so he could sweep the early pick 5.
He's such a failure.
I know,
really
right?
I'm not impressed.
No, I'm not at all. If you don't win them all, it doesn't really count.
Right.
And I guess in this case, Alice Cramden could tell the rest of the field to the moon.
I love it.
So a little opening on the inside, and this race was over.
Kicked away really well. Lamani looked like she had some horse with Manny Franco coming around the turn, but just as easy as she wanted Alice Cramden off the layoff. She was well prepared for the first start of her 3-year-old season. I think the number 1, Scherzer, I had a little interest in that first-time starter too. She was really hard to handle, got very headstrong early for Katie Davis, and Katie did a great job in getting her off the rail, getting her to relax a little bit, and then being in kind of an uncomfortable position for a first-time starter between horses late. Katie's riding very well right now.
I am continually impressed by Katie Davis as a rider. She has real poise out there as a rider, and she's done a great job in the racing we've seen this year.
2-5-7-1. Top 2 on the board, run 1-2. Some prices underneath, but a formful beginning to the late pick 5 here with Alice Cramden. Rod Ortiz Jr. 4 wins on this Friday card. Jorge Abreu, Gold Square. Winning connections. Well, the prices when we come back. We'll get into the pick 4 next. Look back from Rod Ortiz Jr. No one was coming. Stay with us.
This proven son of Giants Causeway has sired 7 millionaires. With over 10% stakes performers, his recent top runners include Tarabi, placed in the Grade 1 Spinaway and Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, Grade 2 winner Plum Ali, plus these standout performers.
It's a Bushido coming down to the wire in the Ontario Racing Stakes has run them ragged.
A proven value sire, First Samurai, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Back with you on America's Day of the Races on our Friday FS2 coverage. Brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. Underway in the late pick 5 here at Belmont Park, in a familiar scene. Brad Ortiz Jr. for the 4th time today through 5 races in the winner's circle.
He has won on every mount he's had today, which is pretty incredible, a feat into itself. And Alice Cramden, this was also a good training feat for trainer Jorge Abreu, as this filly, we saw her debut in Saratoga towards the beginning of the meet. And it's funny looking at who she faced that day. Gambling Girl, the New York bred, who was just okay as a 2-year-old and then much improved, finishing 2nd in the Kentucky Oaks this year. Alice Cramden, we haven't seen her since, but she was definitely ready off the layoff and finding the right field on that drop. Much the best against this group.
Indeed, putting it lightly.
Yes.
Hammers this group. Drop down in class, paying dividends here for these connections. Lamani, the favorite, winds up 2nd. Chad Brown, beaten favorite. Might help a little in the pick 5 sequence here, but the second choice 5-2, very logical. Kicking things off, and the early pick 5 coming to a close. $1,273 for that sequence for the 50-cent play. Pick 4 is next. We'll get to it in a moment. We're going to head back to Louisville. Their pick 4 coming up in race 6, mile and a 16th, $20,000 claiming race, all for sale for that price. Horses who have not won 2 lifetime. And a look at the current odds. Pretty wide open betting board in this spot. Here's the one, Born Flawless. Jimmy Graham rides.
This one's named for Andy, stretching out in distance for the first time. On pedigree, he should be able to handle it. Just doesn't seem like he's the quickest.
He would tell you that.
I was born flawless. I'm no longer the case.
Wick of Wisdom at 7-1, second off the claim.
Now, this horse has run a mile before and actually ran pretty well out at Del Mar back in August, stretching out. A horse that hasn't done much being able to stay on the racetrack.
This horse very dangerous for Robertino Diodoro coming in from the West Coast.
He's always dangerous, Robertino Diodoro. He's, for what it's worth, he's 0 for 5 off trainer switches on the dirt in routes at Churchill over the last 5 years.
Righted on the ice. Woke up at Churchill, again softer last start.
Yes, so stepping up a little bit in here, but did run well, and it was encouraging to see a better effort after some disappointing performances. He was also a little bit closer to the pace. He's typically very far off of it.
Big drop for Motown Missile Steve Asmussen.
Yeah, he got a little overly ambitious last time out, to say the least. He's just your logical favorite.
Yono had an outside look. The 6 at 17-1.
Some of his better races have come at Turfway on the synthetic, but it does take a notch as far as the class drop down after finishing 6th last time.
Yeah, ran 3rd at this level against the next out winner at Churchill. That was back in September. Here's the 7 paid in full.
I'm curious how horses are going to do like this one that spent the whole winter at Oaklawn. Are they going to be horses that kind of need a break? And do you want more fresh horses coming to Churchill? Just a thought, not really any opinion one way or the other at this point.
Nicholas Jones been primarily a synthetic and a couple of turf starts on the resume.
Yeah, first time on the dirt since his debut when he started at Churchill in a $15,000 maiden claiming race. That was sprinting, and he did no running that day.
Tropic Storm first try on the dirt came last start sprinting.
And that was sprinting. Now they stretching out, but I get the feeling this one is just better on synthetic.
And another one who tried dirt for the first time, and it was pretty good. Tuskegee Cat.
I'll be interested to see what kind of tactics he uses today, because when running on turf and synthetic, he had been much more forwardly placed out at Golden Gate or at Turfway as well. And then last time at Keeneland, he was very far back after a poor break. So he's got to get out of the gate well today.
And with horses like the 7 and 9 so close to him breaking, it's going to be hard for him to make the lead. And with a low percentage rider from that outside post, it just spells trouble for a horse that's 4-1.
Yeah.
Though I agree with you, Greg. This horse ran fine last time.
Paulie, is it as easy as the class dropper Motown Missile? It's a 3-year-old facing older horses.
Yeah, I don't know if it really is. And when you look at the race, you know, the horse was in for maiden 15, so they got really ambitious last time out, like Andy was saying. And the time before that was against 15 beaten claimers and ran a really good race. The next out winner, the horse that won that race, actually came back to win. Your concern would be short fields at fairgrounds. When you look at the rest of these runners, they've been running against 10, 11, 12 horse fields. So do you want to take a short price on a runner like the 5 in here? The 3, tough horse for me to get behind. Leonard Powell's a very, very good conditioner, and I understand this horse comes over from California, but barely took the blinkers off after the 12th career start and barely got the job done, and made 20 is the lowest in California. And I that, you know, that this horse might be able to, you know, run a little bit here, but I can't go there at all. When I look at some of the other runners in here, you know, you look at Wicca Wisdom, the lone filly in the race who could be very, very dangerous. You know, she's 4. I thought she had some good form. You guys were mentioning Tuskegee Cat on the outside. I like the 10 in here. My worry is the horse is going to get hung out very, very wide in here. And then the 9 for Sippy Contreras, when he drops horses, they usually run very, very well. So this is a confusing race. And after all this, I'm landing on the 8 horse in here, Nicholas Jones. I know a horse that's going to need some pace. I think Gabriel Saez will give this horse a decent little ride. Jerome Miller, a very, very good conditioner. Listen, if the 5 beats me at 5-2, you know, he does. The lone filly in here, I think, does have a good shot in here, but I'm going to go 8-10-ish, somewhere in that area.
And yeah, Paul talking about that lone filly facing the boys here. That's Wicca Wisdom, the 2. Tuskegee Cat, the concern Paul mentioned about can that horse not get stuck out. The horse actually stumbled out of the gate. Actually might be able to be a little more tactical and maybe get some position.
You will know early, I think, with this horse whether or not he has any real chance, depending on that start and what kind of position he gets. And heck of a segue there, Greg, to the replay. Tip of the hat for that.
And Alberto Burgos, a rider that doesn't ride a ton and has only won a few races this year, as Sandy touched on, kind of a lower profile rider. He handled everything pretty well last time, given that really poor start. But I would like to see him a little bit more forward. I just think he's a little tough to trust because all those races were not on dirt.
Yeah, and I just worry about the post with other. I don't like speeds when the speeds are right near you, inside of you. If you have the speed and there's nobody in the inside 5 paths, it's much easier to get out. But if one or both the 7 or 9 are forward like they're supposed to be, that's going to be tough.
And, you know, real quick on the 5, who's still your favorite, but floats up to 3-1. So a little better price. Massive drop in class, yes. But, I mean, that was a hopelessly crazy spot he was in. The race before that, he's in a condition claiming race at Fairgrounds and got beat.
No.
Yeah, he barely got beat.
He's no
but
superstar.
He fits with this group.
He fits with his group, but he's no superstar.
Gotta love Steve Masterson. 1 week in the Kentucky Derby, the next week in a $20,000 claimer with a horse he claimed for
10 minutes later.
10 minutes later, he's in a $5,000 claimer.
Late pick 4 begins right here. There's the 5 stepping in. Tyler Gaffleone for Asmussen. Let's go to Travis Stone for the call.
There, in the gate. And they're off. And Paid in Full bounces out near the top. Tropic Storms away well, but Paid in Full's intent on the lead and is driven out there. Born Flawless comes through toward the rail and a slam on the brakes. First turn, Paid in Full crosses and clears. Tropic Storms a stalking. Second, Tuskegee Cat on the outside, moving up with Batu Khan right there together, 3rd and 4th. And now Yono's up into 5th as Born Flawless is shuffled back inside 6th. Motown Missile cruising along 7th while wide. Wicca Wisdom is 8th by 2. Right it on the ice is 2nd to last, and Nicholas Jones is the trailer. The opening quarter goes in 24 seconds flat. Heading up the backstretch run, Paid in Full the leader by a length. Tropic Storm stalking 2nd. Tuskegee Cat on the outside is right there too. The 3 of them line up across the track. 2 lengths back to Batu Khan, who's racing in 4th. Yono's to that one's outside 5th. Break it 2 lengths back. Motown Missile 6th. Still 7 lengths off the lead. Wicca Wisdom sent up on the inside of that one and right it on the ice comes on the outside. Farther back in the field it's Nicholas Jones and Born Flawless trails. Round the far turn. Nothing left for Paid in Full. Tuskegee Cat has come away with the lead. Tropic Storms in a full out drive trying to keep up. Batu Khan comes outside for the final quarter mile. And then it's Yono following that one off the turn. Wicca Wisdom swings wide. They're off the turn now. Tuskegee Cat trying to tough it out. Batu Khan continues to rally. Is now just a length behind. Tuskegee Cat drifts to the outside. Batu Khan goes to the rail for a final try. 16th pull. Tuskegee Cat wanders back down toward the rail, but is clear. Tuskegee Cat under the wire to win it by 2.5. Batu Khan second. Yono was third. Nicholas Jones was fourth.
Ooh, getting a little weary down the stretch here.
Well, you could see when Alberto Burgos went to the left-handed crop right here, this is when Tuskegee Cat starts drifting out, and he's actually very lucky that he was clear of the number 3 Batu Khan, because now he goes to the right-handed crop, and the number 10 Tuskegee Cat goes back over to the rail. He had enough horse, Andy. It's just he was really reacting to that urging with the crop.
But he still had more horse than the 3.
Yes.
Because the 3 was never really getting to him. And the reality was he did get caught 3 wide or so on the turn, or maybe even more. He never got great position. This horse was just the best here. And yeah, he got a little tired in the lane, but not as tired as the other ones were, because Batukan looked like he was going right by him at one point. And he actually, the 10 drew off in the late stages. A lot of stragglers behind.
10, 3, 6, and it took 16 starts for this 10 here on the outside to finally get on dirt, run second at this condition. First time doing it, and second time doing it, gets a dominant win.
Yeah, gets back to the winner's circle, was claimed for $5,000, and look, he wins in the $20,000 condition in here, and Alberto Burgos picks up the victory. Like I said, he was lucky he was clear there, able to keep him straight when it counted.
And he's made over $70,000 this year, and you wonder if the connections are thinking about him, you know, whether or not they end up keeping him throughout the year. He runs in claiming races, but I think next winter, Turfway is not the place for him.
Right.
Dirt is where he should be running.
If they still have him.
That's whoever has him.
Yeah.
At that point.
Back to Belmont, approaching the 10-minute mark to post for the late pick 4, 6 furlongs on the main track. An allowance optional claiming race. We'll get to it when we come back from a short timeout. Tuskegee Cat taking that Churchill race. There's Can't Hurry Love. Florent Giroux will ride here for Dave Duggan. We'll be back.
Connect, a Grade 1 winning millionaire, now making his mark as a sire. With Grade 1 winner Rattle and Roll in his first crop, along with Grade 3 winner Hidden Connection, and stakes winners The Alice Look, and Implicated in his second. With a full book bred last year, there is more quality in the pipeline. Connect, a proven sire in the making, standing at Lane's End.
Race to Twin Spires, where you can take advantage of our $200 new player offer right now. Register with code GET200 to start earning your bonus of up to $200 with Twin Spires, where you can watch and bet on the best racing from across the globe. Plus, you can check out our expert picks and weekly promotions. Fast and secure online betting with Twin Spires. Download the app and bet now.
Maximum Security proves he's the real deal with a gate-to-wire win in the Florida Derby.
Champion 3-year-old.
Maximum Security has won the TVG.com Haskell Invitational.
11 triple-digit buyers.
Maximum Security, he smoked them in the Cigar Mile.
Grade 1 winning 4-year-old.
Maximum Security takes them all the way in the TVG Pacific Classic.
Secure your mare's future. Maximum Security.
Now more than ever, it's time to get with the program. When shopping for your next race prospect, consider that New York breds start with an advantage. Our New York breds run for serious green. At Saratoga Race Meet, New York bred maidens run for up to $88,000. New York bred allowance horses run for up to $100,000. And New York bred owners can collect awards of up to $20,000 per horse per race. So get back with the program. Seriously.
We're back on America's Day of the Races on our FS2 coverage. Regional networks out in Southern California. Thanks for being with us on this Friday afternoon here in Elmont, New York, for the Friday card from Belmont and from Churchill Downs out in Louisville. We have the pick 4 coming up next here in New York. Big news in racing just came out from the New York Gaming Commission. Forte's win back as a 2-year-old in the Hopeful at Saratoga. He's been disqualified from the purse money of that race. Trainer Todd Pletcher's been suspended 10 days, fined $1,000. He has requested a hearing and a stay has been granted after meloxicam was found in Forte in a post-race sample, an anti-inflammatory to treat arthritis. So we'll forego for now that winner's share of the purse, and that elevates Gulfport as the winner of the Grade 1 hopeful last summer. Back to live action. And we'll be sprinting on the main track here, fillies and mares, as we take a look at Can't Hurry Love. Comes off 3 wins the last 4 starts. Let's go downstairs to Maggie.
And we'll check in with the 2 Belmont trainees on the outside, beginning with the daughter of Frosted. You look cold. Can't say that here today. But I like what I'm seeing from this filly. And I thought last time kind of got a bit of a passive ride where she lost ground down the backside, and in the end it was a race in which nobody really made up any significant ground, wired by Spirit Wind, and she's one that actually did make up a bit of ground relative to the rest of the field. I love what I'm seeing from her here today as she comes up north. Great coat to her, incredibly fit, just a good forward demeanor, like, yeah, I'm up for this, and that's what I like to see in my racehorses. So she's ticked every box for me, and I think she's a legitimate player here. As we'll check in with Rosebug, who I haven't seen since she was a 2-year-old / early 3-year-old. She has filled out a bit, which I love to see, because my main problem with her throughout those early days was that she just lacked a bit of conditioning across that top line. She's one that kind of really walks with her head low as she's cruising around the paddock here. But again, coming off another little bit of a layoff, but I don't mind that because she ran so big coming back in January off of the 10-month layoff that, yeah, give her some time, let her regroup, and maybe you really do have a serious horse on your hands, though that first start off the layoff did come with LASIK, so maybe that is something that she does need to race with and does get it here, Greg.
All right, Maggie, thank you. We'll get to the post parade here coming up in a moment. Let's take a look at Rosebug. This out-of-this-world performance, the last time we saw her, January 27th, off a long layoff. 90 Beyer speed figure, even faster on some of the numbers. I look at Thorograph. What do you make of it?
I say I was right to love her in the Cicada in her private start. I just want to be on record saying I don't know what to do with these kind of efforts. And I do think she's a horse that is a little better than some of her previous races. Look at it. She was wide against the gold rail at 1 1/8 at Aqueduct, too far for anyway. Obviously, something happened to Cicada. But you were saying, Kate, and I agree with you, sometimes these races, especially at Gulfstream, sometimes they end up living on a sort of an island that nobody can ever find again.
Yeah, and I've seen it happen quite often after spent 6 years down there. And especially like that race took place on Pegasus World Cup weekend. And oftentimes when it's races that take place on big weekends, when there's other big stakes, sometimes it feels like some of the numbers come back a little bit faster and they don't necessarily stack up moving forward. I think that's the conversation we're having here, not saying that Rosebug is not a talented horse. It's just the question, does it stack up?
Every number has this horse with a big number.
Yeah.
You mentioned Thorograph's being higher in the Buyers, the Timeform US is a very high number. Yet she's 9-2 on the board. And whatever numbers people are looking at, and numbers dominate the betting. Now, she may come down, but she's being bet like she ran about a 73 last time, not a 90 Beyer, and whatever other numbers are.
It is a little strange, very cold on the board right now.
Isn't the other Mott horse, You Look Cold, which is a funny segue, looking a little bit more like the better one because she's got 2 straight races to back it up, right? 2 reasonable efforts. Last time the speed ran 1-2 in a small field. She was compromised. So I actually kind of preferred her of the 2.
I thought her win 2 back was strong.
Looking at the doubles and pick 3s, Rosebug's probably going to be the favorite by post time.
Well, there you have it, and that's obviously a different. There's no CAW money in these win pools, and there is in those pools. That's interesting. I still like Can't Hurry Love. I just think she's been in terrific form, and I don't see any reason not to go with the local one that we know is running well around here.
Here's Customer Experience, who's been popular in the claim box.
I'm always giving a second look to any Antonio Arriaga horse off the claim, but he's found himself in one salty race.
Can't Hurry Love, for now, she is favored. She's on a roll. She's won 3 of her last 4.
She's been in terrific form and just missed with the late closing on Buzzy 2 starts back.
Lady Milagro, turf to dirt. She is quick.
She's been in exceptional form. She lost a tough one to Can't Hurry Love 2 back. She came back and won on the turf. She's in raging form. I mean, this race is just full of horses in raging form.
Bank on Anna, New York bred, making her 4-year-old debut.
She ran some very good races last year, and then she really tailed off with her last couple of starts. She comes back now in her first race as a 4-year-old. I will say Phil Serpy's 1 for 1 after having a pretty tough time after the Saratoga meet last year.
Rudy Rodriguez was 7-year-old mare Hydra.
Listen, even Hydra. I mean, look at how well she ran in a graded stake at 60-1 off the claim for Rudy. She's not impossible at 18-1.
Yeah, that was against Mama's Gotta Run. Here is the 6 You Look Cold, the other Mott runner.
I totally agree with Andy. I thought her last 2 races were very strong. You cross out the turf race and her 2 races with Belmont. They stack up against one another. I think she's a major player in here.
And if Rosebug is that filly we saw last time out, she could be a star.
And the money's starting to come in, and I imagine, as you suggested, Greg, by post time, she will be favored. And I'm just really curious to see what she does, because as you say, Greg, if she keeps running races like her last race, she's stakes bound. And she already ran in stakes as a too early 3-year-old, so they've always liked her a little bit. I mean, she ran behind Gerrymander at the time, looked pretty good.
If she continues to, if she runs races like that again, she's in good night Olive company.
Well, she's a
not
horse
far off.
that could have been in Sunday stake, which came up a very, very good stake for the fillies and mares sprinting. And you're right, and maybe she can take over for Caramel Swirl, who's back in that race Sunday, and she didn't run well in her last start at Tampa.
Well, here's the one still favored to this point. Can't Hurry Love, just in incredible form right now. Overall, first or second, 9 of her 14 starts. This was last time out, and once again, it was a win.
And she was able to wear down Lady Milagro, and she really should be coming into this race off 4 straight wins, but she wouldn't have been eligible for last race and also then not eligible for this race because the Racheless by a Nose was the best race she ran. I mean, she didn't even get out of the gate. She broke well behind the field, and this is a forwardly placed horse, and she ended up having to make a run from way back. She is just in raging form.
She's a cool filly, and she's the New York bred. As you mentioned, she kind of went through all her New York bred conditions and then has really been holding her own against open company too. And that's one of the big things we love about these New York breds. And you have so many opportunities where you can run in those New York bred allowance races and then go for the same level against open company. And that's pretty much what she's doing now, stepping up to the 2 other than allowance level. And you got to love a horse like that. And Dave Dungan's done a terrific job with her.
And there's a lot of good names in her PPs, and she's a really nice horse.
Well, this is a fun race. A lot of interesting storylines. Let's go back to Maggie.
You said it, Greg. This is a race where you can almost make a case for any horse in here, as we'll take a look at Hydra. And Hydra's one of those strange horses where she never runs a particularly fast race, but she kind of just always shows up. I mean, last time she got black type in the grade 3 distaff, and I thought she looked incredibly well off the Rudy Rodriguez claim. Now, in this field, for whatever reason, she didn't quite stack up. I really do like the 2 from Mott on the outside, but I thought her warm-up was incredibly promising, really framed herself up well. She's a ball of energy beneath Jose Gomez. Like I said, she never runs a particularly fast race, so several of these might have to take a step backward for her to be a legit winner. But at 22-1, I feel like she's one you can safely use underneath. Now, Bank on Anna, she is returning off of a layoff where I thought, well, maybe she just didn't handle the kind of open, muddy track. And furthermore, she didn't look as good as what she had over the summer. Her coat started to go the wrong way. Well, that is not the case today, as she is resplendent. Looking at her out on the track, too. I don't know if she necessarily classes up to some of these in here, but as you guys said, when you're dealing with the New York breds, in these open company races, they've already gone through those conditions. So there are already multiple winners, which I always like in these situations. But she looks ready for this return, Greg.
Every horse we look at keeps saying, wow, this one looks tremendous on the racetrack. And the 5, certainly one of them at 24-1 at a big price. Can make a case for just about everybody, as Maggie said. Let's bring in JK now on a very competitive start to this pick 4.
Yeah, Wolfie, the 7 Rosebug on paper off of that last race, it deserves to be the favorite. But let's take a little bit of a deeper look. Rosebug's best performance was the last performance. Before that, I mean, those were like run for a tag looking performances. So you got to question how good that last race really was, or if it was just maybe a little bit dressed up. I'm not saying the 7 can't win. I'd use the 7 in a pick 4. I use the 7 in my, but I'm going to go with the 3 Lady Milagro, who I thought race 2 back on the dirt at Aqueduct was very impressive. So back-to-back nice races for the 3. I can trust those a little bit more than what the 7 Rosebug did.
And the 3, another one who looks like she's going to be loose on the lead. She's just not dirt speed quick. She's turf speed quick, which is really quick.
She's in raging form, and the guy riding her is having a pretty good day, right? I think Irad is serving notice that he's back. What do you think?
Yeah.
Unreal. 4 wins in the only 4 races he's been in today through 5 races, and he is going to be alone in front likely on the 3.
I'm very curious here, but I did pick her Can't Hurry Love.
Rosebug in. Here's a 6. Let's go to John Imbrial.
And they're off. Lady Milagro sent out for the early lead. Bank on Anna came away racing in second. Can't Hurry Love down at the rail, and on the outside is Rosebug. And then it's Hydra and You Look Cold. Those 2 are right together, and the trailer is Customer Experience in 7th. Lady Milagro in front here by a length. Bank on Anna in pursuit in second. Can't Hurry Love down towards the rail, and alongside is Rosebug through a quarter in 22 and 3/5 seconds. Midway on the turn, still Lady Milagro with the lead. Lady Milagro, 3/4 of a length. Bank on Anna and Rosebug. Rosebug is gaining on the outside, now takes second. Lady Milagro narrowly. Bank on Anna on the outside. Down at the rail is Can't Hurry Love. As the field heads for home now, it is Rosebug and Lady Milagro. They are heads apart. Bank on Anna. To her outside is You Look Cold. Rosebug takes the lead. You Look Cold putting in a late charge here on the outside. A 16th out. Rosebug and You Look Cold. The 2 of them will fight it out to the finish. And it is a head bob that I think went to Rosebug narrowly. You Look Cold was right there, and farther back, Can't Hurry Love in 3rd.
Came down to the stablemates for Belmont. Very close finish. Might have been Rosebug, and more going on in this race.
It felt like there was some drifting going on. It felt like Rosebug was coming out a little bit, and it's an unusual circumstance where you have the same trainer, but they're different owners. But I'd like to see the head-on. Either way, both of these horses ran very well.
Right there,
Yep.
you can see where You Look Cold. She turns her head a little bit, meaning that she's kind of being pushed out at that point by her stablemate Rosebug. And as we take a look at the head-on, Rosebug, you could see, was really trying, was really digging in, but she was starting to get a little bit leg weary at that point. She might have wanted and gotten her head down first. I don't think it was the 90 by her speed figure we saw last time. And it's kind of right here at this point when You Look Cold comes alongside her that she starts to come out a little bit into her stablemate right there.
Yeah, Jose Ortiz is not a herding rider.
And he's going right-handed.
He's going right-handed, so she's going on her own, and we haven't seen anything here yet that says she's going to come down. No, we're not going to. I don't even think will be an inquiry. It's kind of a herding, but she was almost doing it on her own because Jose was going right-handed. And you say that. I mean, I'm going to assume for the time being that we're going to be believing those fractions. They seem a little bit odd given the way the race was run. But if you believe those fractions, they came home in under 12, these horses. They were running, and they put some distance on some pretty good horses.
One more look at the finish, and I don't think You Look Cold ever got a nose in front.
No. It was close. They both ran well, and that was a great job by the crew getting the head-on up. There's nothing there that would necessitate a disqualification, and I don't even think we'll see an inquiry.
And especially because we often talk when there are kind of right at this point when she starts drifting out. You see Jose Ortiz using his right-handed crop and kind of, it's called fanning her. Using the crop, just kind of showing it to her along her eyesight. That's to encourage a horse to move forward, and the right-handed urging to keep her from drifting out. When he gets almost too close, he doesn't have the room with his right hand to use that crop for guidance with her, and she's kind of drifting on her own, but these 2 fillies both put on a nice performance.
I'm not sure this wasn't another very fast race. These horses laid it down in there. It's a good race.
7, 6, 2, 4, Rosebug, back-to-back wins. Price is next. You're watching America's Day of the Races on our FS2 coverage. Regional networks out in Southern California. It's brought to you by Hillendale at Alapa. And we just saw a very competitive 6th here at Belmont Park. Rosebug, maybe she is for real. That performance at Gulfstream goes back-to-back now. That was in late January, wins again off the bench.
I feel like races like this get you even more excited. Back at Belmont Park, you know, with the Triple Crown going on and all the big races, and just on a Friday afternoon, this non-winners of two allowance race, and you see, I think, a stakes quality type of performance.
And you have to give it to Rosebud because she fought for it this time. Last time out, she was cruising away from the rest of the field, and today just happened to be her stablemate, but she really had to work for it.
Pennsylvania bred, by the way, for Kinsman Stable, the Steinbrenner family.
They beat Canary Love by 5 lengths, and she's been in raging form. I don't think she ran badly. I just think she got badly outrun by 2 fillies that can run.
7.62 finish, 109.4 for Rosebug, who has just become a completely different filly as a 4-year-old. As we take a look at the late pick 5, form full for the first 2 legs, long way to go. Race 7 next on the turf at 1 1/16. We're going to see a very short price as predicted by Andy Serling with Don't Mess with Tess, that we'll get to coming up in a moment. Not just the Grade 1 Man of War coming up this weekend. It's sort of the prelude to the Belmont Stakes with the Grade 3 Peter Pan, 1 1/8, and we'll see if we can get some new faces in the Triple Crown races with the winner out of this performance on Saturday.
Yeah, I always like the Peter Pan, the local prep for the Belmont, and you have some horses that maybe were kind of later developing, Andy, maybe needed a little bit more time, or horses that are trying to kind of get back on track. I think it makes for a very interesting conversation in this year's edition.
I agree, and Bishop's Bay has been good. I thought Classic Catch ran well in the Wood Memorial. I do think that Slip Mahoney will probably scratch to run at Monmouth in the Long Branch.
Here's a look at the Brad Cox runner, Bishop's Bay. So wins 6 furlongs sprinting in the debut, stretches out to 1.70 and handles that in start number 2.
And actually beat a stablemate First Mission on debut. That was the horse that would eventually win the Lexington, and pointing now towards the Preakness Stakes for Brad Cox. You know, it's so unfortunate Brad Cox doesn't have any good 3-year-olds in the barn.
It's a tragedy. It really is.
But here's another one. He was very game. Now, he hasn't won by big margins in his 2 races so far, but he's certainly been able to handle all that's been thrown at him.
Meanwhile, we brought it up earlier, Rat Ortiz Jr. going to be on board Classic Catch. Tried the Wood Memorial, did not work out, and that was off a win at Gulfstream.
And I thought he ran well in the Wood Memorial. Obviously, he didn't make a major dent on the field, but nobody made up any ground in that race. And when he finally sort of got on track and stretch, he was really running towards the end. He's got to put it together and make him take a step forward. But I think that's the case with everybody in here. They're all looking to say, am I good enough to make an impact on these Triple Crown races, or even races later, whether it's the Haskell, Jim Dandy, and the Travers. And I always look back to 1979 when there was an unbeatable horse out there, and really one of the greatest horses of all time in Spectacular Bid was cruising along, ready to make, and they were saying at the time the Triple Crown's gotten too easy. He was going to be the 3rd straight Triple Crown winner. And a horse named Coastal ran a gigantic figure, winning the Peter Pan by 11 lengths. And he ended up beating Spectacular Bid, the only distance Spectacular Bid basically lost at during his career.
That's a great story.
They've said it's too easy. They said we have to change it. Then every time they do, history changes, and we see a couple of Triple Crown winners after that long, long drought, both from Baffert with American Pharoah and Justify. We'll see if we're going to have a Triple Crown on the line with coverage on Fox for the Belmont Stakes this year after a week from tomorrow in Baltimore, with Mage confirming that, yes, he is moving on to the Preakness. Let's go to Churchill Down, 6 furlong sprint. Coming up in the 7th, an allowance optional claiming group. And Fire on Time, Dale Roman's 5-year-old mare who loves Churchill Downs, comes out of back-to-back graded stakes and has speed from the outside.
Yeah, to face the likes of Frank's Rocket in her last start. She is 3 for 4 at Churchill, as you mentioned.
Here's Prince Dreamsis from the rail.
It looks like she's going to be the speed, but there could be other speeds in here.
Altered Shot, 6-1.
Going from synthetic back to the dirt. She's not slow early, should be chasing.
Ready for change, coming off a nice win at Fairgrounds. She has not loved Churchill in the past.
And she may not be good enough, but she also may get some pace to run at.
Former Wesley Ward runner The current favorite now with Brad Cox, who is quick, Golden Bell.
She's now a 4-year-old, and she has not raced very often. We also haven't seen her since August of last year. We'll see how she handles the switch to Brad Cox and if she still has some run in her.
She won one of those 4.5 furlong races at Keeneland by more than 5 lengths. That's how quick she is.
Private purchase for this race.
Stella Noir, Keith DeSormo trains.
She ran one time last time on the dirt, or she's run in the past, and while she finished third in the stake, it was just a 4-horse field.
Boudoir Burlesque. Anna Decker trains, a winner at Keeneland last start for condition claimers.
Yeah, it was a very big price that day and takes a big jump up in class this afternoon.
And that is a big, big drop for Fire on Time. Acacia mentioned faced Frank's Rocket last time out.
She was probably very happy looking around the paddock and not seeing Frank in there because she has turned into a machine. She's the one to beat. And she also has speed, and with the outside post, she can sort of let the race dictate how she's ridden. She's clearly the one to beat, and as you said, she's run so well at Churchill in the past.
Yeah, 3 for 4 record under the Twin Spires. Look at Paul's take here on this 7th. Paulie.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you guys more on the set, because when you look at Fire on Time too as well, not only did she run against Frank's Rocket, you know, her last 3 efforts have not been great, but she's been off Lasix in all 3 of those efforts. I don't know if that makes a little bit of difference, but she's on Lasix back today, and the last time she was on Lasix, she won her last 3 races. So she's going to be tough in here. She gets to the front end in here and maybe can improve her position. Dale Romans had a good opening night last night with a nice winner with Martin Garcia being forward. So definitely the one to beat. Now, the 4 Golden Bell, you guys were mentioning the private purchase. This horse goes from Wesley Ward to Brad Cox. Horse looks like a little bullet, actually, and I guess I wouldn't expect anything less than a horse like that came out of the Wesley Ward yard. 5-2, maybe a tiny bit chilly on the board, because the one in here is taking a lot of money. You know, Princess Dream Says got really good at Oaklawn Park, and I'm kind of with Andy. You know, I got to talk to Lindy Schultz yesterday, and I was asking her, you know, how the horse is coming off the Oaklawn track. She said, Paul, it's actually been very, very tricky. Some of them have come in off sore, and I got to give them like a couple weeks off. Some have been coming off okay. Now, one over the horses that won over here was Smile Happy. He didn't train at Oaklawn. They could never get him to train. So I think some of the Oaklawn horses, you might want to give them a couple weeks to maybe gather themselves a little bit, because it seems like they haven't been performing well so far here at Churchill, although they fired a little bit at Keeneland. So it's a really tough call. I'm against the 1 in here because of that, and I do think the 7's going to be a handful. I think the 5 might outrun her odds. I know it was only a 4-horse field, but this 5-year-old mare might get a little bit of pace to run into. But like I said, I think the 7's the horse to beat. I'll throw the 5 underneath as a nice little price.
Paulie, thanks. Just about all loaded up. There is the 5 Stella Noir with Jimmy Graham loading up for Keith DeSormo. Fire on Time, though, dropping out of back-to-back rated stakes. Speed from the outside, gets that cozy outside position. So options for Martin Garcia, who was on board that impressive 4-year-old for Dale. Giant game yesterday, who we could be seeing in some stakes races in the very near future. See if Fire on Time can get the 6th win of her career in 11 starts. There she is, last to load. Here's Travis Stone.
They're in the gate, and they're off. Good start for Fire on Time, and Altered Shot is also there, and Golden Bell between them. The 3 of them scrimmaging for the lead. Golden Bell up for an arrow advantage. Altered Shot keeps pace. Those 2 head-to-head. Fire on Time is right there, 3rd and outside. Prince Dream Says advancing toward the inside from 4th. Boudoir Burlesque is back in 5th. Stella Noir 6th. Ready for change to trailer down the backstretch run. The opening quarter contested in 21-3. Altered Shot down inside up for an arrow lead. Golden Bell nudged along to keep up, while 2nd, Fire on Time, after that good beginning, has been prominent throughout, and she's coming on 3 wide. Prince Dreamcess in behind, while 4th, Boudoir Burlesque comes on from 5th. Then it's Stella Noir and Ready for Change. Quarter pole. Fire on Time comes off the turn wide, but comes off the turn in front. Golden Bells back into 2nd. Altered Shot gives way late. Prince Dream sets down toward the inside. Boudoir Burlesque and Stella Noir deep in the final furlong, and Fire on Time has kicked it into high gear. It is clear by 8 lengths under the wire. Fire on Time. Good-looking effort there. Stella Noir got up for second. Boudoir Burlesque was third, and Golden Bell was fourth.
Dominating performance from Fire on Time, who continues to prove she loves it under the Twin Spires.
And she was just the class at this field, too. I mean, she had to face, we talked about Frank's Roquette last time, Mary Quite Contrary, who beat her 2 starts back. I think had won 5 in a row. Down at Gulfstream, had been in terrific form for Joe Catanese. And Martine Garcia always had horse, and she ran away from this group.
She embarrassed this group. I mean, she looked like she went into overdrive coming to the 8th ball here. Just crushed them. Very nice performance by her.
Someone catch the final time?
I don't know if they give them, I don't know if they divulge them, do they? We only have 2 TVs here, so we only...
109 and 2, so 109.46 for Fire on Time.
I'm really looking at Diplo while you guys are talking about the race.
Diplo's going to be here for the Belmont Stakes. Are you excited?
I've heard.
Andy's already seen him, what, 10 times?
Yeah.
It's starting to get close to as many times as I've seen the Grateful Dead.
I know it.
It's getting up into hundreds.
He was at the Derby, apparently. Big horse racing fan. He wants to do talking horses with you, actually.
Would he?
Dale Romans heating up at Churchill on that impressive Winter Giant game yesterday. Fire on Time here. We're going to get back to the 7th at Belmont when we return. On the turf, mile of 16th, and there is an even money favorite. Don't mess with Tess. Mike Maker, Arad Ortiz Jr. looking for number 5. We'll be back.
It's a domineering display by the ultra-talented McKinsey. McKinsey Preservationist Vino Rosso and Yoshida. McKinsey's in front.
McKinsey, they've done it. McKinsey has it by 2.
It's McKinsey in a dominant performance. Pure class in the Malibu.
Live racing returns to Monmouth Park Saturday, May 13th with a new 1240 first post. The stakes are higher at the Jersey Shore, as every Saturday and Sunday card will feature at least one stakes event all season long. Win early and often with our Win Early Pick 5. Joining us on site, be sure to lock in your odds with fixed odds wagering at Monmouth Park Racetrack.
Gunrunner is the sire of 6 Grade 1 winners from his first crop and currently ranks number 5 on the general sire list. In 2022, he led all stallions standing in North America by percentage of Grade 1 winners, percentage of Grade 1 stakes horses, percentage of stakes horses, and percentage of stakes winners. Owner Breeder Magazine wrote, 3 Chimneys is home to one of the most exciting young stallions in North America, one that is already eliciting comparisons with Danzig and Mr. Prospector.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Back with you on our Friday coverage here on America's Day at the Races on FS2, Bally Sports SoCal as well, as we get set for the 7th. Coming up, going to be on the turf, mile and a 16th over the InterTurf, 50,000 starter allowance. You can play all the action with Naira Bets. New members, punch in that code right there, match 200. Get that $200 deposit match sign-up bonus at nairabets.com. Let's go downstairs to Maggie.
And we'll check in with a horse not named Don't Mess with Tess, who is the horse to beat, number 1 in here. But I want to talk about number 5, Accept Temptation. And she comes out of what is a much tougher race down at Tampa, or I should say just against better horses. Now, Paco Lopez gave her an excellent ride that day. She just wasn't good enough. And the first place finisher would come back and run second in a stake with an 82 buyer. And the horse that finished second would come back and win with an 81. So this is a weaker field than what she has faced in recent memory. And she's one that always just lacks a bit of conditioning across her top line. And while she still could improve. She looks better than what she typically does, relatively speaking. Great coat to her as well. Tom Albertrani has her ready to come back to the races. And while maybe we missed the wedding with the horse who won earlier coming up from Tampa, I think Accept Temptation is one, too, that at least you're going to get a decent price on and fits quite nicely with this group here. Now, to her inside is one trying the turf for the first time, number 4, Freudian. She is a daughter of Overanalyzed, which doesn't scream turf, to say the least. The dam never tried the surface, though. The full sibling stakes place, finishing second in a turf sprint in her lone turf try. So there's a little bit of turf pedigree. She has a massive turf hoof to her. She's very angular throughout her hind end. She looks as though she should handle it. Now, I still don't know how good she ultimately is, but she has run good races on sealed wet tracks, which, as I often say, are kind of mimic the turf courses. She is one, too, that she's actually partially blind in her left eye. So you always wonder, do they kind of react to things a little bit differently because they can't fully see? But I am optimistic about her chances getting to the turf, Greg.
Our post parade coming up. Thank you, Maggie. Approaching the 8-minute mark to post here for the 7th, and now odds on Don't Mess with Tess. Did you see it the same way as this one being a complete standout?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's faster than these horses. She has positional speed. She's got IRAD. She figured to be a very short price. I picked against her because I have a little bit of a thing for Lady of Thoriton, but I by no means don't see her as the horse to beat.
We'll take a look at her in action at Gulfstream. This was back on February 24th, 2 starts back.
This was her last time on the turf. She tried the Tapeta last time, and she ran well once again. She just kind of puts up races every single time, and she is a type of horse that can wire the field. She can come from off of it. She's kind of gone up the ladder. She's held that good form since moving to the Mike Maker barn. She just makes sense in this spot. She's run really, really well down in South Florida, and we'll see if she can take her show on the road back here to New York.
I think an interesting wild card is Freudian. Freudian's a full to a horse that won her turf debut at 5.5 furlongs at Gulfstream just the other day, I think. And she's also a half to another runner that did well on the turf. And for Rob Falcone, she ran through her conditional claiming races. So her value is sort of up in the air right now. She can try some starters. She may not be good enough. So he's trying turf. She's got enough pedigree to handle the turf. Now, she may not handle it at all, but he's seeing if there's another avenue for her.
Here's the favorite. Don't Mess with Tess. Arad Ortiz Jr., the hot hand today.
I don't have a big knock on this horse, as you say, Acacia. She's tractable, put herself in position, and she's way, way, way the one to beat.
41-1, synonymous.
Getting back on the turf for the first time since November. She is one that in her turf races tends to be very, very far back.
From Hello, she's only been on the turf once, and she ran second for 50,000 starter allowance.
It's a great claim by Bruce Brown. He probably hoped she didn't win first time because he would have been right that she would have won a maiden race in her next start, and she's improved immeasurably on the turf, and she's a player. She got a good ride last time. Good trip, good ride.
Andy was talking about first time on the turf here for Freudian with some pedigree.
And Maggie touched on how good a producer this dam has been. Psychoanalyzed, 2 of a kind, the full siblings, a half sibling that Andy was touching on. Won once on the turf out of 19 starts, but finished in the money 10 times with some very good efforts.
Accept Temptation, who was second in that Tampa turf race in March.
She's a 1 for 21 horse. I didn't think she ran particularly well at Tampa. She had a very good trip that day, but she's run well enough that she could be second in here behind the favorite.
Rider change Romero Mirage on Susie Saver.
A distant second. Last time out, she's been big prices in all of her recent races, and she'll be a big price again today. Coming in from Tampa just doesn't seem as fast.
Bella Principessa, she has one good turf race at Belmont back in May of last year.
She had quite a bad one in her last start. Even Miracle with Javier Castellano in his current riding, I think he'd have trouble getting her home.
Lady of Thoroton, Katie Davis.
I think she's going to take a step forward, second off the layoff. She is one of those big closing types. I thought she ran okay last time with not getting out of the gate that quick.
Well, she broke outside, and I think Katie's a good rider for her because she got her relaxed. She's fought her rider on occasion.
Divine Wine. 2 starts on turf, has not hit the board.
No, but she's supposed to be forward, probably supposed to be in front.
And that's your field, 10 and 11 out. So 3 to 5 on Don't Mess with Tess. It's Maker, it's Arad. Yes, probably the one to beat. Maybe some of the others with not the greatest form, but 1 to 2, You thought she was that big a standout?
No, I don't think she's that big a standout. I think that's why I picked the 8 Lady of Thoroton, because I don't think she's that big a standout. It's almost like people are having trouble making cases for others, and they're just unloading on everything Irad's riding, and he's winning with a lot of horses. Watch her break out at the start in this race, a little slow and comes out. But what I liked is she settled comfortably for Katie. If you watch a lot of her races for other riders, who shall remain nameless, she's fought those riders at times, and that's been a real problem. She needs to just sort of find her own stride, whatever it is. As a result of breaking out like that, being off a layoff, she found herself well back, and right inside of her at this point is the eventual second place finisher from Hello, who ends up coming out. You know, she has that inside-outside move. Katie had no choice. She had to go around the field. I had no way to my criticizing the ride, and she put in a good run. She wasn't able to quite get there, coming off the layoff, making the wide run, blowing the brake, bearing out, et cetera, et cetera. But she has at times run some nice races, and I think horses are running for Katie. They're responding to her, and the one thing I really liked in this race was she never got rank for Katie. And I think that's a very good sign.
We saw that same thing happen with Daddy Knows. Daddy Knows is historically a horse that tends to bear out really badly, really significantly. And Maggie touched on it with interviewing Katie yesterday. She's a very quiet rider, and her horses really seem to relax a lot. She has very soft hands. She's strong, but it's almost kind of that connection she has with the horses too. The horses run for her and they relax for her, more importantly.
And you could even see it in the previous race Daddy Knows ran, because he drew the rail, which is just awful for him. And he wouldn't refuse to run, and Katie just eventually just let him drift out into the middle of the racetrack, and he could never win from there. But she had no choice, had to run. And I agree, and she's been riding terrifically. I don't know if she's quite good enough, but she's the one I want to take a shot, because Greg, I agree with you. This price on the one's a little bit much.
And I actually did like From Hello coming out of that race. I thought that she's still a little bit green, figuring things out. She did get a good trip from Jason Wyeth that day, but you could almost kind of see as he was trying to tip her out and trying to go between horses, she was kind of putting her head up like, I don't know if I want to do this. And then when she finally did kick in, and that was her first start on the turf, she has a lot of turf pedigree on the bottom side as well, and it was a smart move by Bruce Brown to claim her and put her right on the grass.
Yeah, and she gets Lasix for the first time in this race, and I mean, she obviously took a huge step forward, and to suggest that she can't, good trip or not, to suggest she can't take another step forward would be ridiculous.
Well, it's being bet, though, like the race is already over. Don't mess with Test 3 to 5. It was as low as 1 to 2 at one point. As Oran Ortiz looks for number 5, right?
Everybody's on the Irad Ortiz train too.
Yeah, and you know, we saw it yesterday. We saw some massively overbet horses. You and I talked about it quite a bit when we were on for the early part of the show, and there were some just ridiculous underlays, and one of the common themes is Irad. Now, it's not Irad's fault. Irad has lost on some super short prices where it's not clear you could say they should even be favored. And it's a conversation I've had with him in the past. He'd ask me, why was the horse I rode in such a race favored? And I'd point at him and I'd say, you. Because
He's
you're
that
riding
good,
it.
he gets continually overbet.
You know, it's like the curse of success. And then, of course, you know, some people get mad. Well, Irad blew it. No, you blew it. you bet a horse that wasn't good enough at too short a price. You, me, all of us.
Well, it's happening again here. But still, with that, deservedly is a heavy favorite. And
even money 6 to 5. Even money 6 to 5. None of us are saying she shouldn't be favored, nor are we saying she's not the likeliest winner in this race. But 3 to 5 is a little bit much.
I thought even money was short.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one of the things about the race is it's hard for people in general to make cases for other horses. I can make enough of a case for the 8 to take her at a bit of a price.
Minute to post, about to get onto that turf course coming up. Late pick 3. Starts here in this 7th at a mile and 16th on the inner turf. We're going to check back downstairs and go again to Maggie Wolfendahl.
The pace presence is interesting here, as having some technical difficulties, so apologies. But taking a look, yes, the favorite could very well, from the inside, work out to be the early leader here. But what about Divine Wine, as she stretches out for the first time on the turf? And if anything, she isn't overly turf meant, but there's plenty of pedigree for her to definitely handle it. And she was really sharp. Like, I've seen her in the past, and she hasn't been as sharp and keen as she has been today, as she is wearing a pretty fuller cut blinker as well. So I think she's a little bit interesting from that perspective. What will Junior Alvarado decide to do with her, and will he put her in the game? Will she be the lone leader, and will it pay off at a big price, Greg?
Maggie just texted me, she's right. I think the full to Freudian was second, but second at 51-1 at Keeneland in a turf sprint. So did not win, but ran a good second. She'd improved a lot.
And we'll see with this 9. You know, we say it a lot on this show. Sometimes horses with dirt speed are not quick on the turf. And I know this horse coming out of turf sprints and dirt sprints where she was forward. We'll see if that carries over to the lawn.
For number 1, Don't Mess with Test, but she is quickly challenged there. From Hello is moving up in between horses, and Freudian is there, moving up on the extreme outside, Divine Wine. So it is Freudian who has the lead. Divine Wine, From Hello right together, second and third. Then it's Bella Principessa and Accept Temptation. Those two are heads apart, fourth and fifth. Don't Mess with Tess, the favorite, now back running in sixth, about 7 lengths from the lead. Alongside is Susie Saver. It's another 4 lengths to the trailers, Synonymous and Lady of Thoroton. The quarter went in 25 1/5 seconds, and it is Freudian who has the lead here by 3. Freudian has opened up. Divine Wine runs in second. And then it's Bella Principessa and From Hello, heads apart third and fourth. Accept Temptation next in fifth, and Don't Mess with Tess, half mile in 48 2/5 seconds. They head for the far turn. Freudian continuing to lead here. Freudian by a half dozen lengths. Divine Wine remains in second. From Hello, Bella Principessa are right together. Then Accept Temptation, Don't Mess with Tess is sixth, about 9 or 10 lengths from the lead. And then comes Lady of Thoroton, who's moved up a few spots. 3/4 went in 112. They come off the turn, enter the stretch. It is Freudian who has a 2.5 length lead. From Hello is down at the rail. On the outside is Divine Wine. Then Accept Temptation, along with Bella Principessa. Room on the inside. From Hello now comes on through. From Hello, far outside is Lady of Thoroton. Accept Temptation is right there. They come for the finish, and it's a photo between Lady of Thoroton, who came from way out of it, and From Hello.
Looks like it's Lady of Thoroton, Katie Davis, right at the wire.
And she didn't even settle that well early. We were talking about it during the race, Acacia. She started throwing her head, but Katie got her to settle down and made that late run. And the 3 got through on the inside, but it feels like Lady of Thoroton got it done. And the favorite, she was awful.
Yeah, she didn't break that well, the favorite, and then she kind of rushed up a little bit inside, talking about Don't Mess with Tess, the number 1, and then she just never really re-rallied from there. And at the back, as we talked about with Katie Davis and getting horses to relax, Lady of Thoroton, she just cannot be a fun horse to ride. She's not the easiest type, but she got her eventually to relax, and when she did, she kicked in and she came flying on the outside to close. And hats off to Jason Wyeth, too. As an apprentice, 5-pound apprentice, riding on the turf, it's not easy to go up the inside and make those kinds of moves that he did with From Hello, who also ran quite well.
Yeah, he's given her 2 fabulous rides in a row, and the Freudian running off the way she did, that actually obviously helped the winner of the race because it created a collapse.
Yes.
And she needed kind of a collapse. She also needed the 1 not to show up, and she didn't show up at all.
8-3-5-7. Yeah, 1-2, the big favorite. A complete no-show. Once again, Katie Davis delivers.
She's clearly becoming my favorite rider.
I have to say, the 5 Accept Temptation ran very well, too. Maggie touched on that race down at Tampa, and having spent some days at Tampa this winter, I noticed Tom Albertani used that as a stepping stone, kind of a first race back for a lot of his horses, and they've come back to run much better in their subsequent start.
Weren't you supposed to tell us this before Tiz a Keeper went earlier today?
Well, that one I didn't know.
Weren't you supposed to tell us that then, Acacia?
You wouldn't stop talking.
Well, that's always a problem.
Terrific ride from this young lady on a very difficult handled horse yesterday. Daddy knows on the dirt, and now gets up just in time, perfectly timed on Lady of Thoroton at 11-1 on the turf.
Good
Good to have you back on America's Day at the Races, brought to you in part by legendary Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual, unusually well. 7th in the books here at Belmont on the Friday card. Katie Davis delivers again. Lady Throton for Chris Engelhardt, Wachtell Stable. First win on the turf for this 4-year-old filly in 13 tries. Let's go downstairs to Maggie.
Getting all the inside information from Katie Davis here. No, I love it. But as you said, turning the tables on Say Hello from their last meeting back at Aqueduct, but you said she's a little difficult to ride because she has such a sensitive and light mouth.
Yes, I watched her previous races before I've ridden her, and I see once you pick her hands up, her head straight up in the air, running off. Well, the last time I've ridden her, I grabbed some mane and just planted my hands there, didn't move, but I got her to settle nicely with my other hand, and it just worked out perfect. And I asked them to change the bridle to just a D-bit, rubber D-bit, and we made it work, and she came home running, so.
And two, how important is that? It just feels as though you're getting along with so many horses because you know them, because you've had experience with them. It seems as though you get on them once and you're able to kind of be their psychologist, if you will.
Yeah, it's really weird. I mean, just having a clear mind and loving what you're doing really helps me as well. Everybody says it, some people say it's a job, but I don't consider it a job. I should be paying you to ride them, you know, so it's been a blessing, you know.
As I always say, it's a lifestyle and a passion more than a job and a career. Katie, speaking of your other job, quote unquote, how's it being a mom? How is it balancing the two?
You know, Trevor's a huge help whenever I need him. He's there, you know, daddy duties, and the Anna House. You know, they have stepped up and helped me and sent pictures all morning and texted me. And, you know, it just makes my life a lot easier knowing she's right here on the backside.
And Saratoga and Face House, we'll have to get Willow and Riley together.
Yes, definitely. It'd be a blast. You know, she's growing so big. Terrible twos are coming quick, right before I know it. But she's super smart, and I'm very blessed. We're blessed as a family.
You guys are so much fun to watch, and well done again, getting another tricky horse home to the winner's circle.
Thank you, Maggie. Have a good day.
All right. I mean, she should be paying me to interview her. Or like the other way around, I mean, Greg. I should be paying her.
She's my favorite interview in all of horse racing right now. She's so much fun after she wins a race, just smiling nonstop. So the enthusiasm, the love for what she's doing just shines through, and I feel her on those terrible twos. I'm going through it too right now.
But it's infectious, and you know, honestly, I miss Riley does great post-race interviews too. You know.
Yes, she's her horses run for her, and you know, in no way am I saying, I'm not trying to compare to Julie Crone, who was so incredibly successful and such a great rider, but as a female rider, I think they have similar qualities, and that horses respond for Katie. Daddy knows, you were saying, a difficult horse to ride. This horse, a difficult horse to ride. She finds ways to get these horses to relax, and that was one of the reasons that Julie was as great as she was and a truly great rider. Horses responded.
And I think that the horses kind of feed off her positivity, too. Horses really, really feed off your energy. I truly believe in that, and especially thoroughbreds, because they're so receptive to their rider and to whatever energy you're putting out. And the fact that she is so positive, I think, can only help. She's also working so hard, galloping horses in the morning, and it's great to see how it's been paying off in the afternoons as well.
Just up in time, perfectly timed from Katie Davis.
Little goggles
little
for a
ones
young
at
fan.
home.
I don't think he really knows what to do with them yet.
He's not sure he wants to ride.
Oh, she got a high five.
Katie's great.
That's awesome.
Making new fans, that's all it takes. Fan for life right there. That's how close it was. Wow, about a true head in the end. Easy win.
Great finish by her. Really great finish. Not only getting her relaxed, but to finish that well. A really, really good finish.
Yeah, top of the stretch, it looked like this one had no chance.
And I thought it was interesting that she was talking to Maggie about after last time when she rode this horse, kind of suggesting a different type of bit to Chris Engelhardt. And when you're a rider that's sat in tune with your horse as well, I love getting to hear things like that, where a rider suggests a change and a trainer listens and it pays off, because they really feel what's happening with that horse out there on the racetrack.
Right, but she better never tell people again that she would pay them to ride for them. The racetrack, they may be asking for money. So,
well, the way she's
Katie,
going,
you deserve to get
her
paid for your
services are
rides.
going to be in a lot more
As they
hot
should be.
demand. She's riding terrific right now. Gold Fever, our feature on this Friday card. Coming up next, 3-year-old sprinting 6 furlongs. We talked about it at the top of the show. A lot of interesting runners in here. A couple of them getting reunited. Squire Creek comes in undefeated for Brad Cox, and Drew's Gold comes in undefeated, for Jimmy Chapman.
It makes for an interesting little matchup with these. As far as Drew's Gold, he's done it at 3 different racetracks. Squire Creek has done it at 2 different racetracks already. And with Prove Right coming out, some pace in here, that could make things a little bit more interesting for Squire Creek, who does look to be very, very quick early. But Drew's Gold is a talented horse.
4 to 5 on the Brad Cox runner, who looks like Squire Creek, absolute speed of the speed here.
I think he's the speed of the speed, and I think the situation Irad faces with Andiamo La Firenze, where I think, much like a race he won earlier, he's going to have to hope sitting second things just work out, because if you run head-and-head with Squire Creek, you're likely to get yourself in trouble. We'll see, though. He's coming to New York for the first time. He's done it at Fairgrounds. He's done it at Keeneland. Now he's got to do it in New York.
Comes in off a quick work at Churchill as well. Bullet drill in preparation for this start. So the Gold Fever coming up next, our feature on this Friday afternoon card. We got more ahead from Churchill Downs as well. Fire on time, impressive for Dale Romans, dropping out of those stakes races. It's going to be on the turf coming up next. 1 1/8 on the lawn. Allowance race, non-winners of 2 lifetime. Root Cause coming off a maiden win at Gulfstream for Chad Brown. Has Tyler Gaffalione aboard as the current 6 to 5 favorite.
And it's funny, she is actually the half-sister to multiple graded states winner Vertical Oak, who was very good sprinting on the dirt. And yet this is one that he debuted on the turf. She ran quite well that day. That was a Horacio de Paz filly that beat her first time out, who looked like she was pretty talented, came back off a layoff to win at Gulfstream last time out.
I feel like the 3rd place finisher, Towhead, didn't he finish first in that race? It was declared no contest.
It was, yes, yeah. And then she never really kind of went on after that until against some softer competition.
Yeah, she looked good. She's much the worst to beat. Like the public, I think her biggest competition comes from the one right outside of her. I don't know about you. I had nothing clever to say here.
What do you think? Why is this Brendan Walsh runner taking all this money from the rail?
Well, I think Brendan Walsh, second time in the States, that's a perfect combination for that one to take some attention.
I don't have my figures, but this horse did run second at the noted Pau racetrack in France. Have you even heard of that one, Acacia?
No, I have not, actually.
Then nobody
Let's
has.
go to Paulie for more.
Thanks, Greg. No, I haven't heard of that racetrack as well. I think the one's taking money because I think that Jared Loveberry is going to blast from the gate here and try to take this field gate to wire. But the 3 Root Cause, she broke out of the gate last time, actually had a little bit of speed, and Irad decided to take her back. She kind of got put in a little bit of a pickle and then had to go around horses, but she was so ultra impressive. She looked unbelievable warming up. And I just can't get around her. The 4 Strikingly Spun, I thought was the other filly in here to beat. But Chad's horse is going to be tough in here, Rukas. She looked the part. She might have to run down the 1 in the hot barn of Brendan Walsh, though, Greg.
Travis Stone, the call. Here's the 8th from Churchill. Thanks, Paulie.
They're at the gate. And they're off. And CC Cruise Control comes out on top. Mustang Lady from the far outside. Melania, Root Cause. Clever Joke is in a bit tight there and had to tap on the brakes and continues to do so. Relegated back a couple of lengths. CC Cruise Control. Unopposed on the front end, 1 circuit to go. Root Causes come on to stalk the pace from second. Mustang Lady 3 wide racing up into third. Melania tucks in neatly. Toward the inside 4th. Clever Joke is 5th. Bolivi down inside, covered up while 6th. Strikingly Spun reserved in 7th. The break of 5 back to Jenny Lind. Another 5 from there to Demi. And Unstable Princess to trailer. They turn to the backstretch run, and the posted quarter in 22 and 4. The pace is sharp. CC's Cruise Control the leader, prompted by Root Cause second, as the rest of the pack tightens up in behind. Mustang Lady on the far outside has moved up into third. Melania continues down inside with a ground-saving trip for the far turn 4th. Clever Joke right in the thick of it while 5th. Strikingly Spun stuck 3 wide 6. Bolivi buried at the inside 7th. Unstable Princess making progress from the back. Draws to within 6 lengths of the lead as they round the far turn. CC Cruise Control feeling more pressure from Root Cause, who comes up alongside, and these two are head and head. Melania's down inside with nowhere to go. Strikingly Spun comes wide off the turn, but is putting in a run. Clever Joke comes wide as well. Unstable Princess in behind. Wide open, furlong to go. Clever Joke comes away with an arrow lead. Believe he's crying out for room in behind. Finds a seam. Strikingly Spun is there. Unstable Princess, 16th pole. Strikingly Spun takes the lead 50 yards out. Clever Joke back to second. Strikingly Spun won it. Wide trip and all. Clever Joke was second. Believe he was third. Unstable Princess was fourth.
Strikingly Spun, Joe Sharp, Luis Saez, Highlander Training Center, winning connections.
And this looked like was the other horse next to Root Cause. It's just one that makes sense. You could see her flip back to her inside left lead late. Sometimes when horses are in a duel like that and they're just trying so hard, they try to get another head of steam right there. She almost kind of did a little leap in the air to flip back, and under Luis Saez, kicks on from the 7.
Yeah, and a nice performance by both the runner-up, Clever Joke, and the one making up some ground, and Root Cause. I mean, the race did completely fall apart, and it didn't have kind of the look of a lot of the Churchill turf races we saw last year, where the horses that were towards the inside with speed fell apart and the outside runners, but I don't know. Root Cause was awful as the favorite.
Came down to these two. Strikingly Spun, and then Adam Beschizza for Wayne Catalano, and Clever Joke runs a big one as a runner-up.
Clever Joke ran very well, too, off the back of that maiden win at the Fairgrounds for Wayne Catalano. Comes back with another nice effort. Just a little bit second best to Strikingly Spun, who's turned things around since switching to the grass.
So Luis Saez is winning every race at Churchill.
Yeah.
Irad's winning every race at Belmont, setting up for a big showdown up in Saratoga between the two of them.
Can't
What do you
wait.
think?
They're
pretty
two
good.
heavy favorites, yeah, to win that title this summer.
Last 2 title winners, right?
Gold Fever coming up next. Our feature on the Friday card from Belmont. Stay tuned.
It's Rock Your World in command. Medina Spirit making no progress. And it's going to be Rock Your World to take them all the way in the Santa Anita Derby. He's undefeated and wins by 4.
Experience the adrenaline-pumping, suspense-filled action of the Sport of Kings no matter where you are with Naira Bets. It's fast, easy, and secure. Download the app today and start winning with our lucrative weekly promotions, thrilling handicapping contests, and a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. Don't just watch horse racing, be a part of the action with Naira Bets.
The Best 2-Year-Old by legendary sire Quality Road.
Hit back, $1.5 million.
Very, very impressive debut. Cantering home could not have been more impressive.
Coast to coast in the American Pharaoh. He's the real deal.
Undefeated and unchallenged at 2.
He's just too good. He wins the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Corniche, the newest champion to Coolmore, America.
On a perfect day, there is no finer place in all of sports.
Nerves, excitement, and anticipation.
Than beautiful, truly stunning. For the Breeders' Cup World Championships.
Gold Fever swings wide into the stretch, down toward the inside. Topicon is beginning to pick up horses. They're coming down to the final furlong, and Diligence is the boss at the 8th pole, but Gold Fever is coming with a hard charge on the outside. Gold Fever storms to the front as they come down to the finish. Then Diligence and Topicon. Gold Fever has won the Naira Mile by 2.
Talk about saving your best for last. Final 3 starts of Gold Fever's career. 3 straight victories, back-to-back graded stakes, and then a grade 1 to top it off.
Well, he was just had the misfortune of being born in the wrong year. I mean, he was in Unbridled Songs crop, which both he and Diligence made that mistake because they were tremendous racehorses. But that's one of the greatest years in the history of racing for a 2-3-year-old. That crop of males were remarkable. And listen, he got 100 Beyer in the Hutchinson and finished 3rd behind Appealing Skier and Unbridled Song, as Unbridled Song was taking a while getting untracked down in Florida. It was a very good horse in a very tough year.
This year's edition of the Gold Fever, it is next. It's our Friday feature coming up. Let's head downstairs to Maggie.
We'll check in with the 2 favorites, beginning with number 2 in here. That is Squire Creek for Brad Cox. Now, watching his replays, he's not the quickest out of the gate, but he is one that finds his stride very quickly. And you can kind of see that. He is a bit of a bigger, bulkier type where he's not, you know, that quick typey horse that would be fleet-footed, but he is solid and he is a tank, and I like what I'm seeing from him here in the paddock as he does look to go 3 for 3, but he's gonna have to face a horse that is stakes proven in number 6, Drew's Gold. Now, the absence from the races is a little bit auspicious, or suspicious, I should say, in that I thought the Bayshore was the likely target for him, though he missed that. But he comes back looking, if anything, fitter than what he did coming into the Jimmy Winkfield. Striding out really well here, good forward energy. I like this horse. I'm a fan of his. And if anything, he looks better today than what he did going back to February 11th. Acacia and I were having a discussion before the show about number 4, Tuskegee Airman. He's a street sense out of a Medaglia d'Oro mare. There is nothing about that says sprint. And while he did win going 7 furlongs, I feel like this is a bit of a prep. And I said to Acacia before the Remsen, he got very sharp and kind of hot and bothered. And I was like, well, maybe that's because of that temperament they want to turn him back. Well, he is laid back, cool as a cucumber, behaving much the same as what he did for his debut, in which I was there at Parks that day for the Pennsylvania Derby. He looks fantastic, and he's another one I'm a big fan of, but 6 furlongs, major question mark, but I much prefer the way he's acting today compared to the Remsen.
All right, good news there. If you like that one, thank you, Maggie. There's a look at Drew's Gold. 3 for 3, 3 different tracks, but yeah, off since February 11th. It is a little off-putting. As Maggie mentioned, the horse was actually a vet scratch at Laurel a few weeks ago.
He was, and he did win an allowance at Laurel 2 starts back. Now, there have been some issues with the track over at Laurel. You see a lot of trainers shipping elsewhere to run their horses, so I don't know if that might have had something to do with it. But Drew's Gold has done nothing wrong in his career as of yet. We'll see if he can keep it going.
And he doesn't need the lead to win. He can be forward, but he can rate comfortably, as we've seen in his first 2 starts, and he draws very well on the outside. It's a very nice horse. I think he's going to run well in here. I'm also interested in the 4 Tuskegee Airman, though. Doesn't it feel like a prep to stretch out?
Yeah, and as Maggie was saying, I had actually asked her in our office because I didn't have any notes on this horse. I'd never seen him in the flesh before, and I thought the temperament angle was very interesting, but the fact that he's so laid back, I think we're going to see him going longer for next time out.
There's Joey Freshwater, Kendra Carmouche for Linda Rice.
He is a graded stakes winner, and the second horse came back and ran well, but I'm still not in love with the race he comes out of.
That was the Bayshore 7/8. Here's Squire Creek, undefeated, speedy for Brad Cox.
He is quick, and the scratch of Prove Right certainly does help him. Comes off of a very sharp workout at Churchill Downs as well. See if he can take his speed every step.
Tuskegee Airman, he won the first 2 starts of his career before that defeat in the Remsen.
And it does seem like this could be a prep for some longer races moving forward. He was a distant 3rd behind the top 2 in that Remsen, but had run 2 very good races prior to that.
Andiamo off runs, they used to be incredibly quick. He had blinkers on, and he has a quick drill since.
He's, however, in that unenviable position of having to deal with Squire Creek. Can he go head-to-head with him? Can he stalk him and beat him? We'll see how it plays out.
And the undefeated Drew's Gold, the Jimmy Winkfield winner, who was not run since February 11th.
They absolutely crushed Joey Freshwater the last time that they met. Joey Freshwater, now a graded stakes winner, having taken the Bayshore. Jose Gomez going to stay aboard at Drew's Gold.
4-1 on Drew's Gold for Jimmy Chapman, Son of Violence, as we get set for this year's edition of the Gold Fever. And here is the one that looks to be leading the way under Florent Giroux. He has shown incredible quickness and He's won at 2 different tracks already. This is the Keeneland win after that maiden score.
Do you know what I thought about was interesting about this? He had the inside post, Andy, and he wasn't necessarily the quickest, fastest out right away. And Florence was kind of asking him every step of the way early on in the race. And he seemed to be responding and doing it nicely. But he wasn't just one of those kind of quick cruise on the front end types.
It's interesting. I mean, you know, because he has shown blazing speed in his races. His time for US, his pace figures are extraordinarily high, just 2 races, but still they're suggestive of a horse who has extreme speed. We'll see how that plays out here, and I guess one thing you're pointing out is let's see what he does out of the break here.
4-5 as he makes his New York debut. Coming up, son of Uncle Mo, and here's Drew's Gold. So 3 for 3 for Jimmy Chapman, Jose Gomez. The Eclipse Award winner's Outstanding Apprentice, retaining the mountain. This is that Jimmy Winkfield win back in February.
And he absolutely crushed Joey Freshwater this day. That horse would take big steps forward in his subsequent 2 starts, but Drew's Gold took over and just pulled away from this group.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's been good. He's just been very good. He's very professional and been very, very good. And obviously, been some issues that have kept him out. And you mentioned the vet scratch. You know, the thing with those is, and I know you're not suggesting anything with it, Greg, we just have no idea what the real story is behind it. But we know that he's running today, and so there's no reason to believe he shouldn't give as good account of himself as he can. He's running against some good horses, some better horses, but I mean, I like this horse. He's kind of a neat horse, right? He costs $25,000 for Jimmy Chapman, and I mean, he's a part owner, as he so often is with his horses, and just keeps running well in all of his races. You got to admire this horse.
I like his appearance on the track,
He's done a
too.
very good job with this horse.
And the first couple of starts, he wasn't great out of the gate. Is that a thing of the past for him?
He broke very well last time in the Jimmy Winkfield, that's for sure. And he was kind of pressing in the tooth path. He wasn't necessarily on the lead by himself. I like to see Jose Gomez giving him some pats after a nice warm-up there. I think it's interesting, and kind of what we were saying about how Squire Creek maybe is not the first one out of the gate, but he's very fast. I wonder if Irad Ortiz and Andiamo Forense are going to try to take advantage of however the inside horse breaks. It could make things a little interesting.
Good point.
3 minutes to post our Friday feature. Let's go to Jonathan.
Yeah, Andy kind of brushed over this when he was talking about the 2 Squire Creek. He talked about his pace figures. His pace figures, according to Timeform US, and the higher those early pace figures are, the faster the horse ran, the more energy that was used. His early pace figures are faster than everyone else's. Timeform US projects to have him on the lead. Now, that doesn't always equate to a lot, because if they get tired and they come home slow, then it doesn't matter how fast they went early, other horses will catch them. The sneaky thing about Squire Creek is that not only does Squire Creek have the fastest, most impressive early pace figures in their last start, Squire Creek also has the best final number, which means that although this horse used a ton of energy early to make the lead and aggressively make the lead, he still came home fast enough to have the fastest final number. Those are the types of horses I like to single. Those are the types of horse that make sense to me at 4-5. I think Squire Creek, if he breaks clean, is the winner of this race.
JK, I couldn't agree with you more. I like Squire Creek here. As Drew's Gold, I just want to expound on kind of what Andy was talking about with regards to a horse being listed as a vet scratch. Yes. Every horse is examined the day of the race, and if the examining veterinarian notes that the horse is off in some sense, he's listed as a vet scratch. But also, if a horse, let's say, doesn't eat up and runs a bit of a temperature the morning of, well, that's also a vet scratch too. But the fact of the matter is that you're basically, sidelined for the 10 days, the 2 weeks, until you can enter again. So that also equates to time away. And while I thought Drew's Gold was a little bit uncomfortable starting out in his warm-up, he quickly got himself underneath of himself and got going quite nicely, especially what you guys saw on the screen on the backside. So he's fine. I like him, but it kind of pushed me back over to Squire Creek in the end. Do you want to talk about Andiamo Frenze? It seems as though once they stretched this horse out, it kind of dulled some of that early speed that we had seen from him, and maybe he just really isn't as fast as we all expected him to be in winning his debut back in June here as a 2-year-old. But I gotta say, this is one of the best times I've seen this horse. Well, I don't think he's necessarily gone on from 2 to 3 that progressively. This is the most conditioning and muscle mass I've seen from him. He does apply a substantial cheater cut blinker. And again, I don't think he's gonna beat Squire Creek to the lead. I think he could run one of his better efforts. And he is getting some play here, Greg, at 3 to 1.
See how this New York bred fares. Used to be exceptionally quick. Blinkers going on, and he looks like put some speed back in him. A bullet gate drill, I would think, with those blinkers on.
You would guess, and he's always been a quick worker. And Maggie used the phrase cheater cups, and that's literally what they're called, cheaters, which is, I agree with you, it is not the best way to phrase it, but that's what they are, because it's a very slim piece of plastic around the horse to limit the peripheral vision, and sometimes that can be focused braking, and sometimes that can be focused late in the race as well.
Here we go, Gold Fever Friday feature from Belmont. Let's go to John Imbrial.
Now of the Gold Fever Stakes. And they're off. Joey Freshwater from the rail. Squire Creek is right there. Andiamo a Firenze, and on the outside, it is Drew's Gold. Andiamo a Firenze and Drew's Gold, and the two of them hook up here. They've got 2.5 lengths on Squire Creek, who sits behind in third. Joey Freshwater is next in fourth, and then it's 6 lengths back to Tuskegee Airmen, who trails the field. Opening quarter mile, 22 seconds. The battle between Andiamo a Firenze and Drew's Gold. They are heads apart for the lead. Squire Creek, the odds-on favorite, sitting off of them in third. Joey Freshwater has moved to the extreme outside, and farther back is Tuskegee Airmen, and the field is at the top of the stretch. It is Drew's Gold who has the lead. Andiamo a Firenze down towards the rail. Squire Creek is next, and Joey Freshwater, the half mile in 45 seconds. Drew's Gold now being asked for more by Jose Gomez, and Drew's Gold is responding here, opening up a 3.5 length lead. It is Drew's Gold, and he stays undefeated. He's 4 for 4, and he's won at 4 different racetracks.
Drew's Gold, this looked like it was going to be a pretty tough proposition for him, battling on the lead, and he just draws away.
He was cruising. You could see Jose Gomez had a lot of horse underneath of him. He had to deal with Andiamo a Firenze, and for the first time in Squire Creek's life, he had to rate from off the pace. And early on around the turn, Florent Giroux started working on him, and he just didn't have enough when called upon, Andy.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I'm not even sure he ran that badly. I think the winner just ran so well. And, I mean, Irad Ortiz thought I'd put the 2 away at the start. I'll be okay, but there was Drew's Gold right outside of him, and Florent made the right move. I mean, you don't want to get caught up in the inside and get buried. He got into a theoretical perfect spot. Maybe the 2 isn't really comfortable rating, or maybe Drew's Gold's just a better horse.
Drew's Gold has done everything right. It's kind of what we talked about over at Keeneland with Squire Creek. He's not the horse that's the fastest out of the gate. Irad Ortiz took advantage of that with Andiamo a Firenze, but fist bumps for Jose Gomez with Drew's Gold.
Got to feel good for this young man. We mentioned reigning Eclipse Award champion, top apprentice, and getting a big opportunity on a very talented horse. Time off, not a problem for this horse at all. 4th different racetrack he's won at in 4 starts.
And think of where Andiamo a Firenze finished, the horse that dueled with him, right? I mean, he was dead last in here. That was a quick pace. They were moving up front, and this horse just kept on running. It's a very, very, very nice horse.
Big performance from Drew's Gold, and nice to see him come back and keep it rolling. It's really fun watching a horse like this, and one that just kind of takes his show on the road. Has to be really enjoyable for Jimmy Chapman too, and he and his team have done well in keeping this horse in the right places.
So much the best against this group. 4 wins from 4 starts now. Again, at 4 different racetracks, wins off a layoff. And he's just kept moving forward start after start after start.
I think the key was when they came into the top of the stretch, and Jose Gomez was cruising on Drew's Gold, whereas Irad Ortiz was working on Andiamo a Firenze and Florent Giroux on Squire Creek.
Drew's Gold, to this point, he has been unbeatable. We'll be back. Nightcap still to come.
I'm very bullish on it.
Tom's Dayta's got a 4-length lead at the 16th pole. Tom's Dayta has conquered the Clark.
Your best horses of the last 10 or 15 years are not consistently as fast as this horse.
It's total domination for Tom's Dayta.
He's a beautifully balanced horse and a really good mover, and he's just full of class.
We are back at America's Day of the Races on our FS2 coverage. Feature in the books. And Drew's Gold, very impressive in this performance under Jose Gomez for trainer Jimmy Chapman.
A nice performance from Drew's Gold. He takes his show on the road, 4th racetrack. Third, he's had 3 different riders. This is Jose Gomez riding back-to-back, the first rider to do so, and he was much the best against this group.
I mean, this is our prep for the Grade 1 Woody Stevens, and based on, and there's some good horses out there. The General Jim was exceptional this weekend at Churchill. This horse is a $25,000 yearling purchase, part owned by trainer Jimmy Chapman, and he is squarely in the picture. This is a win that's better than it looked on the racetrack.
Yeah. Hardware for Jimmy Chapman, Jose Gomez, and this ownership group. Let's go to Maggie.
Here with Jose Gomez, and Jose, we could see your elation and just how proud you were of Drew's Gold. You gave him a big old pat, actually before you went in the gate and after it too. You really like this horse, huh?
Yeah, I've been working this horse since before he even ran. Oh, wow. I was helping Jimmy out, and from the first day, I breezed him behind horses, and he was handling it like a professional from the first time. And I knew there was something special about him, and he's undefeated, and I'm glad I've been able to ride him in his past starts and both stakes.
Yeah, back-to-back stakes victories, but there was no needing to take dirt today. He broke alertly, and everybody else was scrubbing, and you were a statue turning for home.
Yeah, I know the first couple times he wasn't getting out of the gates as good. He would stumble a little bit, but now he's just maturing and knows his job. And I just have confidence in him, you know. When you have confidence in a horse, you feel like you're unstoppable.
They feel it too, right?
Oh yeah, of course. He's cooler than I am, so I just follow him.
I love that, Jose. We saw you as the Eclipse Award-winning Outstanding Apprentice. It's always a struggle when you first, take over your journeyman kind of title. For you, what's the future hold?
I mean, I just want to learn, get better, take everything I can, and just get better, really.
We couldn't be prouder of you, and congratulations here with Drew's Gold today.
Thank you very much, Maggie.
Drew's Gold and the Gold Fever, guys.
It's a horse who just keeps getting better and better, and no one's been able to beat him to this point. Pick 5, 1 leg remains.
Got me some nice prices. I'm rooting for anybody that's alive in the Pick 5. How about you, Acacia?
By the way, Drew's Gold and the Gold Fever, that was a hunch bet today. How'd we miss it?
Drew? That's for who? Me?
For anybody. You love a hunch bet.
Oh, I love hunch bets. Yeah, I make a lot of them. I don't think I've ever made one in my life.
Really?
I'll occasionally bet a lot on one of my pets, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because I love them, but I have...
Like Lydia
I
Thornton.
squarely believe they have a place in this game.
Well, you're a man who made almost 6 figures with Shananuski a few years ago.
I genuinely like that horse.
It
wasn't a hunch play.
A big price horse won the last race, and Greg was not here and texted me. He said, was that the 8 that won the last race? And I said, no, it was like the 10. You're like, seriously, I need the 8. And I said, yes, it was the 8. It's like the horse was 80 to 1 or something, right?
Something like that. It's not fun to tease people like that. I was
Well,
watching actually on my phone, and my reception went out.
Were you on the subway?
No, I was in my car in Los Angeles.
Oh, well, that was your first
But
problem.
that was my Derby experience, by the way. Watching the Kentucky Derby, I had 2 fills in a multi-race sequence and started to go underground.
Great shape at the 8th pole.
I thought I might have won the race.
I watched the Kentucky Derby with Maximum Security on my phone in Brooklyn. The inquiry started, I got on the train, and you know, this is in the Clark Street station, and I went underground for about 10 minutes or so and got back up and got reception, and the inquiry was still going on.
Still going on.
It just went on.
I never had so many text messages.
So many people wanted to hear the thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Well, we still got the nightcap to come on this Friday card, and probably the most competitive race, or at least one of them, on this entire card today to close it out. 7 furlongs on the grass, maiden special weight. Everybody looking for that first win, and a very mild favorite. Tactical Joke, Wesley Ward, and Rugula. Graham Motion, both at 7-2.
And they both seem legitimate. Nothing wrong with them. They you know, Practical Joke, I don't know how good the field was really running after a much troubled trip. And Rugula ran fast in both races.
We're going to take a timeout. We'll have Paddock Report, post-parade, when we come back as our Friday coverage on America's Day of the Races continues right after this.
DeMarchelier offers breeders a rare opportunity as the only son of Dubawi standing in Kentucky. Dubawi, one of the world's most celebrated stallions, is now a sire of sires. His top sons at stud are making a name for themselves across the globe. With a picture-perfect pedigree, this son of Dubawi brings one of the world's most potent bloodlines to America. DeMarchelier, standing at Claiborne Farm.
There's a big, bold, beautiful world waiting to be explored by you and your friends, of course. But not just any friends, the best of friends. The kind of friends who let you do you. Because in this world, it's positive vibes only. And when you get in the zone here, you stay a while. These aren't just good times, they're the best of times. And your time is now. So come explore. Resorts World.
Race to Twin Spires, where you can take advantage of our $200 new player offer right now. Register with code GET200 to start earning your bonus of up to $200 with Twin Spires, where you can watch and bet on the best racing from across the globe. Plus, you can check out our expert picks and weekly promotions. Fast and secure online betting with Twin Spires. Download the app and bet now.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than americasbestracing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. americasbestracing.net is a sport for you.
We are back on America's Day at the Races. Brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. We have the finale coming up here in Belmont, New York, and we got the finale coming up at Churchill Downs as well, race 9. To close things out under the Twin Spires, Mile and an Eighth, $10,000 maiden claiming race, a majestic flag, as we thought, for Tom Amoss on the outside. Heavy favorite here.
Significant drop in class. We're in a very quick race, 2 starts back in particular, and just a horse that's been facing better than these.
Yep, big drop down for Tom.
So.
I mean, the 9-horse, who looks to me like one of the chief rivals, has had a million chances, 0 for 13. Not the kind of horse I want. The public right now is going a little for the 1, Mifflin.
Dunder Mifflin.
First time on the dirt. Not for me.
I don't get that.
He has a broken vow, which is probably more of a dirt influence, but still, maybe the 6 or 7, a little interesting. 7 ran a good number last time in Indiana.
Yeah, it's Matlock. Second for maiden 20 in Horseshoe Indy.
Is that one of your favorite shows, Matlock, Greg?
That's a solid show.
Sure, I never saw it.
I had a phase where I was just locked into Columbo for a while.
So I was watching a repeat of a show the other night on television, and it begins with 2 cops arguing about the correct pronunciation of Fort.
Oh boy,
And there was
Sterling
a Fort and
Forte.
and the cop who took the side of Fort was correct, looking it up.
Every time I go home to see my parents, they always have Perry Mason on.
Really? The new Perry Mason?
No, the black and white one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
We're a
that's
Perry
going
Mason
back.
family.
I like that.
Yeah, it's great.
I think Mary Tyler Moore.
Oh, it's a great show.
Favorite show.
Yeah.
Ted Knight, Ed Asner.
Yeah.
Such a great show. Ted Knight's one of the great comedic actors of all
tremendous.
time.
So good at Caddyshack. 6-5 favorite here in this finale. Tom Amos's Majestic Flag with his main man, Edgar Morales. And a big drop in class. Will it equate to a win? You talked about Veil of Honor, the 9. That's primarily been a synthetic horse. Certainly of late, anyway. But some dirt races, a big drop down. In terms of the dirt, there's been some maiden special weights, shown some ability. Let's go to Travis Stone, 1 1/8, 10 maiden claimer to close it out.
They're in the gate, and they're off. Magna Ruler broke out well for that inside post. Majestic Flag is there from the far outside. Between them, it's Lucky Smile. Lucky Smile and Majestic Flag both racing for the lead. Magna Ruler, with that good beginning, backs off to settle down third. Meanwhile, up top, Lucky Smile floating. Majestic Flag way out into the track. They go 1-2. Magna Ruler over to the rail to track the pace from third. Lucky Smile still getting out there. Majestic Flag's going to tuck in toward the rail to track the pace from second. Farther back in the field, Noble Connection comes away in fourth. Mifflin is racing fifth. Matlock sixth. Vortex in seventh. Johnny's Moment is eighth and toward the rail. 3 lengths back to Veil of Honor and 5 back to Strickland at the back. The opening quarter goes in 23 and 4. Lucky Smile still off the rail. An inviting opening at the inside for Majestic Flag. And he punches up on through to challenge from second. There's still 1-2. Noble Connections a little bit closer from third, just 2 lengths back. Magna Ruler settles in fourth for the far turn run. Matlock is sent up outside of Mifflin. They're on the move together. Johnny's Moment's under pressure. Farther back in the field, Veil of Honor is starting to make some progress. Still 6 or 7 lengths behind, though. Round the far turn, Lucky Smiles holding on to the lead. Majestic Flag is still second. Both asked to pick it up outside the quarter pole. There's still 1-2. Lucky Smiles wide again off the turn. Very wide, in fact, but is in front. Majestic Flag tries to switch leads, did it right there. Farther back, Noble Connection is sent on for more speed. Veil of Honor continues to rally, weaving through the pack and coming on strongly. Final 16th, Majestic Flag, short lead. Veil of Honor goes right by. Veil of Honor works out a perfect trip to score by 3. Majestic Flag was second, Noble Connection was third, Lucky Smile faded to fourth, and Mifflin was fifth.
Jareth Loveberry a little more late here than he had in the Derby, although he tremendous ride on 2 fills, I thought. Took advantage of that opening when it was there with 2 fills. Just came up a little short. Takes the nightcap.
I thought it was really cool to see Jareth Loveberry getting some presence and notoriety with the big ride in the Kentucky Derby. He's a talented rider. Gets the win here with Veil of Honor. The 8 who you saw fading, Lucky Smile, he was fighting with Joe Rocco every step of the way, really trying to get out. And I think he probably needs to get some ice packs on his arms.
And Jareth Loveberry was able to do something with Veil of Honor that many other riders have tried to do, and that's win. He wins in his 14th start. He had never ridden the horse before, and he gives him an exceptional ride, too. Getting good inside position and coming through. Tom's horse, Majestic Flag, he battled down the inside the whole way. Maybe a little bit too hot up front for him.
And you talk about this a lot, too. It's kind of buried form. The dirt form when you go back to the dirt races, was it gets a lot better than anybody else in this field.
He's only 0 for 6 in his dirt races going into this race, right? You start looking at him, and they're all buyers in the high 60s to 70s, which frankly kind of makes him the horse to beat.
Against maiden special,
yeah,
against maiden 50.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because he's 0 for 13 and because of the synthetic form, people got a little bit misled in this race. We should have made a fortune, Greg. Why aren't we all
Dirtied
rich?
up form, they call it.
Yep.
I'm an incredible post-race handicapper.
It's a real talent.
It really is. It's a skill.
Back at Belmont, Nightcap coming up. Here's 7 on the lawn. Rugula. Graham Motion. This horse, only turf start, was second. That was the debut at Gulfstream.
I wanted to mention that this horse is half to a horse named Mia Martina that Grand Motion also had for Eclipse, and they had private purchased her after her first race. And I always thought that she was a little bit better than what she showed, and she was kind of that big, long striding turf runner. I thought it was interesting that they go back into the family for this one.
Also at 7-2 on the board. Wesley Ward's second-time starter, 3-year-old filly by Practical Joke. There she is. Debuted January 27th at Gulfstream, 5 furlongs on the lawn. This will be the second start coming up.
She had a big trip that day. I mean, she
did.
got left and squeezed back, was dead last, and Irad gave her a great ride after that. And she was running at the end, but how good
We
was
have
the
it
field?
for you. We're going to take a look
We're
at
like
it.
magic around here.
You ask and you shall receive, Andy.
I sent it in.
You did the work. But notice, too, she is a Wesley Ward runner who was a first-time starter on debut, but she started her career as a 3-year-old, so no blinkers. Well,
We're efforting.
you shall not receive. Sorry.
Efforting that race.
I lied,
We,
apparently.
hope to get that to you. Let's go downstairs in the meantime to Maggie.
1 Wesley Ward, 2 Graham Motion, 2 Chad Brown. I'll look at the trainers that send out couples of horses. We'll begin with Rugula here, and that is a great note with Acacia, with the pedigree being a half to Mia Martina, and she was one that wanted the distance more so. So it's an interesting spot for her going into the 7, but she is a bit smaller and just handier looking than Mia Martina as a physical. Definitely that twirling candy coming through with her. She's very fit. I have no problems with her. I'm a little intrigued by his first-time starter who isn't taking much money, but as I say time and time again, you won't see horses take much money that are coming from Fair Hill because I don't really have eyes on the ground to see how they're working. She is the daughter of Lope de Vega, who just really tends to fire early. Now, the dam, she went 0 for 3 while racing overseas in Europe, and this is her first full race. But if you go back a generation or two, there's plenty of good turf pedigree, and obviously that's what she looks like here. She comes in here very fit, very professional. Love the 7 furlongs for her first time out. She, has that physical makeup of a turf miler, so the 7 should hit her squarely between the eyes. She looks great here. Lovely walk to her as well. Very intrigued with this debuter. Moving on to the outside with the 2 for Chad Brown, both of which coming back and making 3-year-old debuts. We'll start with the one who has some turf experience, Reflexivity. She'll get Lasix after debuting, going 5.5. She's one that was green in the paddock. She didn't look great in her coat, albeit being in the middle of summer. Today, I'm looking at a different filly. She's turned around, coat, flesh, everything with regards to that. So much more professional here. Now, she's one that the 7 furlongs I actually question because she's really short coupled, built downhill. 5.5 feels like her gig, but again, Chad's very adept at getting these horses to maybe outperform their distance limitations, but I do like her coming back today. But one that I've been waiting to see get on the turf is number 11, St. Benedict's Prep. First time out, I said, looks more turf. So we're getting it here, albeit Flatter's not a great influence, but on the bottom side, the dam was a turf winner. So she, as I alluded to, has the physical makeup of a turf horse, comes back in here really fit. Love the 7 furlongs for her. I think that's an ideal distance and really just paints a lovely picture here in the paddock, Greg.
Maggie, thanks. 12-1 on that filly for Chad Brown, getting on grass for the first time here at start number 3.
And the second dam, Wend, won the New York. She won the Jenny Wiley. She was very good on the grass.
7 for 14 in her career on the grass. She was a very, very good filly, and I don't think of Flatters that much as turf influences, but obviously a tremendous sire, and Maggie has good things to say. That's usually a good sign.
Yeah, I like it. 12-1.
Yeah, an unusual Chad Brown. 12-1. I picked the 10 in here, and I think it's a highly competitive race. My feeling with the 10 was that She was chasing a very, very quick pace that fell apart in her debut at Saratoga, and she actually held on respectively well in that race. So I thought it was a better race than it looks, and just hoping she comes back and, you know, she can be a little forward, and she's a little more mature. It's been a long time since she's run.
I thought that there were a lot of interesting things about this race. The first-time starter, the #1 May Fain. The dam is the sister to Frosted, and so that's the second dam, Fast Cookie. She was very good on the turf, and Belmont actually trained her.
Somebody made a huge 8-6-1 pick 3 because it's the favored pick 3 combination, and this horse is about the 7th choice in doubles. The doubles 95 for $1. The pick 3, which started with a $25 horse, is just 300.
Wow.
It's an odd, aberrant bet.
Yeah.
Coming through the tunnel. Post parade coming up for our Friday finale here. 7 minutes to post. We'll begin here in a moment with Bill Mott's debuter, Uncle Mo filly. Junior Alvarado on May Fain.
Yeah, it's the first foal from this dam, but as you noted with Fast Cookie, and it's funny how she produced Frosted, but she was a very good turf horse.
Godolphin homebred. Debut coming up with that inside post. Tactical Joke, Wesley Ward, this second-time starter.
And she did have that trip first time out, didn't break well. I thought that she was really running on late in that race, and she's one that absolutely could take a step forward. We haven't seen her since January, but she comes back here. She was training at Keeneland, so interesting to see Wesley Ward spot her in here, but big race first time out.
Wonder Girl, Javier Castellano rides.
Can Bob Glaceris pull 2 upsets in one day? She would have to improve off a decent turf debut.
Graham Motion with the favorite. He's also got this first-time starter, No Show Sammy Joe.
A Tattersall's October yearling sale purchase for about $214,000. As Maggie mentioned, the second generation, quite strong, a multiple graded stakes winner.
About $214,000.
Yes, because they sell them in guineas.
No.
Stablemate here with Joel Rosario, the favorite.
His horse has run well in both starts and gone longer, gone shorter. 7 furlongs should be fine. She's probably the one to beat.
Blinkers coming off. I'm Glad with Kendra Carmouche.
Claimed for $75,000, 2 back from Saratoga. Wasn't seen again until April. This one looks a little tough to trust, but it's cutting back in distance.
Dark Princess, first-timer Linda Rice.
That horse has plenty of turf pedigree as well. It's up to 5 turf winners. Linda's not good with first-time starters, especially first-time starters in turf sprints, but this horse has plenty of pedigree. I'm really looking for this horse second time.
Love to shop. Barat Ortiz Jr., Todd Pletcher.
This one's by Violence, was way behind the Great Maybe, who looked pretty precocious for Cherie DeVoe back this summer. This horse, the dam is the sister to Talk Vouv to me. I wonder what she'll do getting on the grass.
9-1.
Good, I liked her.
Quiescent, Bobby Robato.
She ran okay in her turf debut, but once again, much like the 4, she'd have to improve. This is a very tough field, because even horses like this, their big prices, ran well.
And stablemates for Chad Brown here on the outside. Reflexivity, second time on the grass.
I thought Maggie's comments about this one were really interesting, how she had improved a lot physically and mentally, but the question really is, can she get the 7/8? And sometimes that can be a stretch for horses.
And Dan Hurley, former coach at St. Benedict's Prep, now a national champion coach. This one getting on the grass for the first time.
Were you thinking he's maybe involved with this horse a little bit?
No,
it's possible.
Didn't even think about it.
Yeah, well, he's involved with the horses. Bobby Hurley was. Listen, it's a Chad Brown horse, and she's got big pedigree on the dam side. She's a huge price.
11-1 outside. Manny Franco will be aboard Lasix for the 3-year-old debut and turf debut coming up for her from that outside post. We're going to try and bring you this race here from Tactical Joke, which we talked about earlier, and a trip first time out going 5 furlongs at Gulfstream.
Well, yeah, she doesn't break well, and that immediately kind of puts her behind the 8 ball. You see how far back she is, and how Barat Ortiz, who rode her that day, was kind of asking her, and she kind of rushes up in between horses. She never looked comfortable.
And it's such a good example of, by the way, how horrible it is to watch replays at Gulfstream, but also of how a bad break can badly affect a horse. Because she only
Especially
breaks about
5
3/4 of a length
yeah.
slow, but it basically puts her 5 lengths behind the front. And with Wesley Ward, they're usually forwardly placed, so I'm not going to be surprised when she has a lot more speed today. And she really, I mean, Irad did, this is a great Irad ride, right? Because he realizes I'm sort of screwed from the start, right? So I'm going to stay on the rail, I'm going to be patient, I'm going to try to get through, and I'm going to try to get lucky enough to win the race. And one thing she really does, because nobody else was making a move. The horses that were 1-2 were 1-2 the whole way, basically. This horse is really running through the stretch. Now, I don't know how good this field was, and she may be facing a bit of a tougher field today, but this horse ran first time. The question is, you know, will she be more professional, and is she good enough?
See if she breaks better. We'll keep our eyes on that out of the gate. Let's go back to Maggie.
And we'll take a look at a first-time starter from the rail, May Fain, who Acacia brought up, has that lovely second-generation pedigree in the dam, being that half defrosted, but it is kind of a little bit more of a dirt pedigree, though there are some turf works down at Payson sprinkled in, and Uncle Mo is definitely not a negative influence when it comes to getting on the turf. She's a lovely mover, and usually horses that kind of have that nice floating bounce to their stride do translate well to the turf. So I kind of see why they're choosing this surface first time out. And she's one that was fairly unassuming back in the paddock, but she won me over a bit more watching her with Junior Alvarado aboard in the warm-up. She really came to life once she hit the racetrack, and she's really fit and defined for this debut. Do want to talk about number 9, Quiescent, who is second off of a layoff and, came back to the races going 6, gets the extra furlong, which sounds counterintuitive for a horse that came up short going the 3/4, but she has the size, she has the scope to say that this might be better, and she might be able to find her stride and her rhythm a bit more comfortably. And since she is a bigger type, a lot of times those ones, they need a race under their belt coming off layoffs, and that's typically what we see from Bobby Robato, her trainer as well, Greg.
Maggie. All right, thanks, Maggie. As they make their way to the gate, minute to post here coming up. It's been a fun Friday card.
It has been. The racing's been really good, and this is not an easy way to wrap up the card. This is a super competitive race, and I'm looking forward to this one to see who's going to be successful on the turf here.
No, I agree. It's a terrific race, and we saw 2 outstanding performances. One by Drew's Gold in winning the Gold Fever, and I was going to say earlier, I think our race of the day is going to be that 6th race and the stretch duel and the run by Rosebug, and then you saw the performance by Drew's Gold. I mean, it's just between we had that fun race, that terrific ride by K.E. Davis, just getting up to win, and now we close out with this race, and the racing at Belmont. It's such like a breath of fresh air. Not that we don't love being at Aqueduct. And the other thing to remember is, it's going to get better because so many horses were running at Keeneland. That are here, that we're running Derby week. So you get 3 to 4 weeks into the meet, and suddenly some of these Keeneland horses that are, that ran there, they're going to start coming back as well. So I think the best is yet to come. And today, it's a Friday here at Belmont, and we've got a terrific weekend cards coming up, nice big field. So the racing couldn't be better as far as I'm concerned.
Going to be a terrific Saturday as well. First grade 1 of the meet coming up with that Man of War. But a competitive one here to close things out before we're done on Friday. 2 Grand Motion runners. One of them just left your screen. There's the favorite. Rugula has been, for the most part, favored throughout that 5 with Joel Rosario.
Would you bring some Rugula tomorrow to the set, please?
Oh, that'd be great.
I will do that for you guys.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm going to hold. You're the one who asked me to bring you food. I want you to bring the Rugula for us.
You know what? I'm going to do that for you too.
Great. I'll eat all Rugula. Any kinds, apricot, chocolate, raspberry. I don't care.
Nice.
I'm open for all Rugula.
I know just the place to get it.
Casey and I'll be fighting on the set over it.
Well, that'll be a show. No show with Sammy Joe. Being a little bit tricky going into the gate.
Shit, Sammy Joe wants to be a no-show at this point.
That's a little bit of a tongue twister name. Good luck, Johnny I, with that one.
And St. Benedict's Prep last to load. The other Chad Brown on the outside. We are set for the nightcap. Let's go to John Embrial.
And we are set for race 9. And they're off. Number 6, I'm Glad, jumped up at the start and trails the field. Quiescent is out for the lead along with Reflexivity. Right behind Tactical Joke sits in 3rd. Rugaluk is running in 4th. May Fain down at the rail is next in 5th. And then it's St. Benedict's Prep in 6th, followed by Wonder Girl in 7th. Love to Shop is in 8th. Followed by No Show, Sammy Joe, a break of 4, and after that awkward start, I'm Glad is in 10th. Trailing the field is Dark Princess in 11th. The quarter went in 23 seconds. Quiescent leads here by a length with Reflexivity on the prowl in 2nd. It's a length and a half to Tactical Joke, who's down on the inside of Rugaluk. Those 2 are heads apart, 3rd and 4th. May Fain and St. Benedict's Prep They're racing as a duo. On the far outside is Love to Shop, and down at the rail is a Wonder Girl. Then comes No Show Sammy Joe, half mile 47 seconds. Reflexivity now takes the lead at the head of the stretch. Quiescent is back running in second, followed by Rugaluck. Tactical Joke looking for a way through. Love to Shop continues to gain on the extreme outside. So it is Reflexivity trying to hold off Love to Shop with Rugaluck in third. Coming down for the finish, it is Reflexivity coming off the Saratoga layoff to win by 2.5 lengths, and it was close for second between Love to Shop and Rugaluck.
Reflexivity, Flavien Prat, Chad Brown was able to handle the 7/8 today.
And the mental and physical progression did show in here. Confident ride from Flavien Prat, and this one was able to hold on pretty gamely too. Made a big late run from Love to Shop, who clearly took to the grass pretty well today, Andy.
Yeah, the fractions posted are utterly ridiculous. They obviously didn't go 22nd, third quarter, but yeah, she was impressive in here. You know, she stalked a pace that sort of fell apart, and I think the two behind her are okay. Both the 5 and 8 ran well behind her, but just sort of a futile chase for a horse that was much more comfortable. She rated comfortably in this race, and it's just for me, it was a play of a horse that was coming out of a race that the race dynamics did not favor her. And today, I don't know if they favored her more. As Maggie had good words to say, she was just more mature.
Chad Brown, Klarovich, Flavien Prat, 6-1 on Reflexivity. You know, Love to Shop, the 8, getting on turf for the first time. Looked for a moment like she's going to make this very interesting.
Yeah, she kind of ranged up outside, and she wasn't able to make a dent in a Reflexivity, who just got so comfortable on the front end. And boy, she really is a powerful daughter of Lope de Vega. It's kind of fun as we have gotten to see a lot of these European pedigrees racing here in the States. And so I feel like Maggie and I have gotten quite familiar with the Lope de Vegas, the Kingsmen, the Dubowis, those kinds of pedigrees, which is fun. And typically some of the Lope de Vegas, they kind of have very long heads. They're kind of lanky. This one, she's really, really kind of stout and powerful, and that showed out on the racetrack.
10-8, 5-4. Reflexivity closes out this Friday card with a victory for Powerful Connections. And we already knew going in as well, we had a pick 6 carryover for Saturday.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's around 52,000. Don't start.
Come on, do the math. Do the math.
All right, there was 81,700 bet, which puts it somewhere around 69,000. After a quarter that's taken out, you're left with around 52,000.
Live math on air. We'll be back.
Drain the Clock will win and win by as much as he wants. He'll win by 6 in the end.
It is Drain the Clock who will bound home the winner in the Bayshore. Drain the Clock, Jockey's Warrior, a terrific finish in the Woody Stevens that goes to Drain the Clock by a head.
We are back on America's Day of the Races. It's brought to you in part by Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual. Unusually well.
I was off by $31. I'm a failure.
Solid work, Andy Serling. Yeah, pick six carryover, 51,969 for Saturday. Reflexivity, start number 2. Winning for Klarovich Stables, Flavian Pratt, and the man standing by with Maggie.
Well, it's always good to know that the trainer and at least somebody doing my job agrees, Chad. As you said, reflexivity, you thought she might be limited to 5.5.
Yeah, she never really grew much, quite a short horse, but broke good and really matured and strengthened a bit from 2. She might not be very tall, but she got stronger, and I'm really proud of her. Flavian gave her a good trip, and she really kicked for home, and they started chasing her and reached at the wire. I'm proud of her.
Acacia mentioned, and I was thinking it too, the Lope de Vegas that we've typically seen here kind of have the stamped physical makeup. She doesn't fit the bill.
I totally agree, and a different maid, we've had some good ones, and a little bit wiry and stretchier and such, right? And do the best running it too, some of them. And this filly has come around at 3, a different type, and a little bit of a pleasant surprise for me today.
Yeah, it was a nice performance, and looking forward to next weekend, Blazing Sevens, a move that we've seen you be successful with, skipping the Derby and going to the Preakness.
Yeah, probably the toughest decision in horse racing is sitting a Derby out when you have points and such a prestigious race to win, and one I want to desperately win. But it just wasn't for him. I think he's a race behind. I love what I see now. He's going to have his final work here tomorrow. Love training at my home track of Belmont here, and it's worked for us both times, training right from Big Sandy here and shipping in with 6 weeks rest. We'll try to do it a third time.
I'm glad you said that. This always feels like home, doesn't it?
It really does. You know, it's a wonderful place to train, and the horses seem to be thriving here. As you see, we're off to a good start at the meet, and my team's doing a good job. And when you ship from here, they run just as well.
Well, best of luck with him. Congratulations, though, taking the Nightcap.
Thank you.
Reflexivity, flexing on the field in the last.
Well done, Maggie Wolfendale. 15:40 for the victory to close things out. Love to shop. Rugula completing the trifecta. Love to shop, maybe the one to watch next time out.
Yeah, she seemed like she handled the turf pretty well, made a bit of a late run. I agree with Andy. I think the top 3 finishers are pretty strong from this race, and maybe some of them behind them too. This is a good group.
Yeah, this was not an easy race.
Yeah.
I mean, these are serious maidens. I think you'll see more from the Wesley Ward horse, huh? Just didn't really have much.
She was not settled again. She just doesn't really relax. I wonder if she actually needs blinkers.
Pick 5 comes back 3,165 with this combination. Started out pretty formful. You got Lady of Thornton and that well-timed ride from Katie Davis. Drew's Gold. An upset, now 4 for 4 in reflexivity. Chad Brown paying $15.40 in the finale. Pick 6 carryover, 51,000 plus reasons to watch our show tomorrow.
51,969. I think you could round it to 52, Greg. Stop trying to make me look wrong here, Greg. Don't pick on me.
It's not my intention.
Just bring that rugula tomorrow.
Yes.
Just bring a big box of rugula tomorrow and we'll be fine.
That's already on the schedule, don't worry. Grade 1 tomorrow, Man of War. We got the Run Happy as well. It's going to be a tremendous Saturday card. This weather has just been amazing. And we're in the midst of a Triple Crown as well.
We are. Kentucky Derby's in the books, and now, as I saw, it's all about the crab cakes moving forward.
So we at NYRA are allowed to root for 1 horse a year, right? We root for the Derby winner to win the Preakness.
Right, so we have a Triple Crown coming to the
Javier
Belmont.
Castellano, too. He made a decisive move here to save ground with his horse early when he had a slight opening.
He gave him a terrific ride, and as Andy and I discussed the other day, Mage is typically not a horse that breaks well, and this was actually a pretty decent break for his standards, and he's still one that comes from pretty far off of it. He got him right over to the rail. 2 Fills was the one that was up close on that pace, and Angel of Empire kind of made that big move and then kind of idled a little bit late.
Trainers and horses deserve an enormous amount of credit for success, and a lot of times riders, as Richie will say, and I agree, they get too much credit and way too much blame. But I'm going to tell you something, they may have won this race when they got Javier Castellano to ride him, because this is the perfect horse for Javi. A horse that doesn't get out of the gate. He is as good a rider as there is in the game with horses with gait issues, of getting to break as well as they can and not getting into trouble. He broke a little slowly, but it really didn't cost him that much. But also, you watch this race, it's like he knew there's 2 closers I have to deal with, Angel of Empire and Tappet Trice. And he knew where both of them were at all times. And he had more horse, and you need the horse to get there, but he did everything you possibly could do and everything right to give his horse the best chance to win.
I think most people that, series handicappers thought this horse was a major player, but just so lightly raced and experienced. Only Apollo and Justify didn't race as a 2-year-old to win the Derby. Now he joins that list. Only Regret, Big Brown, and Justify entered the Derby as their 4th career start. I mean, majorly bucking history to be able to do this.
That's why I threw him out.
That's why I threw out Table last year.
Yeah. And you know what? I actually had a really interesting story about Mage as well from co-owner Ramiro Restrepo. This is a horse that cost $290,000 at a 2-year-old sale, and given how hot Good Magic is now and how fast he worked at that 2-year-old sale at Basic Tipped and Timonium, you almost kind of wonder why didn't he cost a little bit more? 2 things Ramiro thought could have been the case. One, he didn't switch leads throughout that workout, but he did on the gallop out. But the main thing that a lot of buyers, and I've heard this multiple times, have had a little bit of a question mark is Mage has what's called a parrot mouth. It's basically an overbite. And a lot of buyers are reticent to buy a horse with that because they think it could be something that can cause problems in the future. Might have marked his price down a little bit. They said they haven't had a problem with it. The next time you see Mage, take a look to see he's got a bit of a parrot mouth.
Retainers in his future.
Yeah.
What about the fact that he is so lightly raced? Does that mean now we can expect maybe even more improvement from him? That's a scary thought for the rest of these 3-year-olds, if that's true.
It could be. He did not race at the age of 2. They were patient with him. It paid off. It also means it's a very tall order going on to the Preakness in just 2 weeks.
Yeah, but you know what? So many Derby horses have come back in the Preakness and run even better.
Yeah.
Smarty Jones's Preakness is the greatest race he ever ran by a lot. So I don't worry about that much. This horse just seems to keep thriving on racing, and what he's already done has been remarkable. He's a terrific horse. And you mentioned Ramiro Restrepo. I don't know him, but I know him. I feel like a lot of people, you know him a little bit from Twitter. And he's one of the 17 people I actually don't have blocked on Twitter. So that says a lot about him, or maybe a lot about me. But he's a good guy, and I think a lot of people on social media were particularly happy for this horse because of his association with the
Somebody that just always loved the game and has turned it into a profession and now has won the Derby.
Yeah.
Pretty cool to see.
Is the list that likely he's going to line up against Mage to try and end his Triple Crown bid. And one name standing out there, Bob Baffert, showing back up. National treasure horse who was talented as a 2-year-old, but it was his stablemate, Cave Rock, that was getting all the attention.
Yeah.
Should we make any jokes about the horse being named National Treasure as the first Bob Baffert horse in the Triple Crown race in a couple of years? Or just stay out of that?
You already did it.
I just can't help myself. It is a little funny, right?
I thought you were referencing all those tremendous Nicolas Cage movies.
Yeah.
Those are good.
I forgot you're his biggest fan.
Third and final look at the Triple Crown. Test of the Champion, the Belmont Stakes for the first time ever. It will be on Network Fox Saturday, June 10th. Of course, Mo Donegal took it last year. Arad Ortiz Jr., Mike Rapoli, such a race that he wanted badly and finally got it. It was fire on time for Dale Romans at Churchill Downs. Big performance from her, dropping out of Graded Stakes Company. Drew's Gold, 4 wins from 4 starts at 4 different racetracks, taking the gold fever. We will see it tomorrow. Our coverage begins 12:30 Eastern Time on FS2. We'll see you then.
The momentum continues for War Dancer as 26 Black closes to take the first turf race of the 2023 Aqueduct Meet.
26 Black in time!
Now with over $5 million in progeny earnings, including Dancing Buck.
Dancing Buck by a half-dozen lengths.
Long Shot Surprise Boss.
Surprise Boss is not going anywhere. Surprise Boss, look at this effort.
New York's #1 turf sire begs the question, shouldn't you